What's happening? Welcome, everybody, to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. It's good to see you. Good to be here. And that's true. This is better. Rusty McShackleford coming out with the heat already. This is way better than watching Fredo by himself. I agree. I mean, it's hard to kind of get through Fredo. What a funny name. All right, so can't see me. Well, you can now. Now you can see me. It was because I had the overlay up. Sometimes I like the overlay where it just like hide back here a little bit. And but now you see me. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome again to let's see, Patsy McBroom. What a name. That's a cool name. I like that. Funny Face Brenda. And what happened to window licking Ronnie or whatever his name was? Did he take off? Did he get blocked yesterday? I hope not. I hope not. Alicia, what's up? That's right. Well, it's Joshy, but you can call me. You can call me. Well, you just call me Josh, I guess. Dude, we get some interesting stop bys, you know. Ruby for Justice, good to see you. All right. Wide awake, that's good. That's right. Ryan eats crayons. What did I say he was? Window licking. Yeah, Ryan licks windows. I like that better. But it's all the same, really. He's a window licker by nature. And anyway, how's everybody doing tonight? Good to see you. Martha, good to see you. It's awesome to see you. S Goon, I think, or Sagoon, Miss Justice, Tilted, Based, Tilted. You want to see my handsome face? Well, that makes one of you. And the Halo Detective. Let's see, Jovi's in the house. Good to see you, Jovi. How are you? Hope everything's going well. All right, so where are we at today? You missed Don's ulcer. That was a good one. Don's ulcer was good. Nothing really eventful happened, at least in my life today. Now, yeah, windows need licking. That's true. Hello from the coast of Georgia. The Georgia coast. That's interesting. The Georgia coast, huh? I don't really know where that is. The coast. We got snow yesterday. And we didn't really get snow today, but what we got was It was like sleet and slush and crap like that. Hi from Atlanta, sleepless in Seattle. All right. Yeah, we did. We got some snow. It sucked. Did you see the interview with the former sheriff of Pima County? Is that the undersheriff, the one that was with Brian Enton, the one where he was driving Brian Enton into the woods until Brian freaked out and jumped out? He didn't do that, but I saw that. Yeah, it was cold. Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's sort of a hybrid. We started the coverage over on Lab After Dark, which we're gonna have a Lab After Dark show this weekend. But when was that? Today? Is that today? I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure we'll get to it. Why not? Did it come out today? Oh, of course. It snows in California. We have huge mountains in California, but I live right on the coast, so it has to get really really cold for it to stick down here, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But most of the time it doesn't snow. But yeah, yesterday it was snowing. It's been in like the 30s though. It sucks. It's just been awful. Did Brian Enton do the interview? Lake Tahoe got slammed. That doesn't surprise me. Standard. It rains all over, or it snows all over California. And so, anyway, I think oh, shocker. Okay, so basically the rundown, TMZ got another ransom. This is not a ransom. This one's a ransom, not a give me money for information. He's got Harvey got another ransom note. Shocker. It's like it's every day with this guy. Fox 10 talks on YouTube. I'll check it out. No. Well, that was the thing. So he said that, matter of fact, a lady on News Nation asked him about it. They won't discuss the information one, but they will discuss new ransom notes. And so who knows? I mean, finally getting warmer. That's good. I know we joke around and we say, Harvey wrote himself another ransom note, and like I think obviously I don't think that he's doing that, but I think he's reveling in the fact that people are writing him, and he has no obligation not to share it, and he wouldn't take that obligation seriously anyway. He just has no problem doing that, but ethically, I don't know. I hate to get into ethics, but is it ethical? Probably not. But is TMZ a tabloid? Yeah. Do they have some credibility? Yeah, they do. I mean, they are out there and they break news. And I remember, like I think I brought this up before, the Kobe Bryant crash. If you guys remember when his helicopter crashed, TMZ was on the scene way before anybody else got there, and they were taking photos of the dead bodies. And I think they even called his wife and wanted her to like comment on it. I don't even think that she knew that he had died yet and his daughter had died yet. So it's not, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's not exactly the National Enquirer, but it's not that far of a leap. I mean, like I said, they do have some credibility, but how, I'm not really sure. But they do. What's going on, Mary? Good to see you. They break news. I mean, that's what they do. This smells to holy hell like a cover up or distraction of some sort. I guess, that's it. 11 looks like an old man elf on the shelf from reporting on a new message. I mean, he's not young. I saw Inside Edition went after YouTubers, and we'll discuss that a little bit as well. So that, dude, they, look, I'll get into that as well, but, well, they do. I mean, they have always been newsbreakers and unapologetically newsbreakers. So let me see here. Dude, Inside Edition did an absolute hit job on JLR, mostly Dolly. I mean, they went at Dolly's neck. But I think that it's really difficult because technically, I don't know. I don't even know if it's technically, but I guess you're allowed to do it. And I think that there's some sort of ethical, once again, we're getting back to ethics, but some ethical lines that some people feel are crossed by live streamers. Nobody in particular. Why do I hate on JLR? Did I don't know. I can guarantee I didn't. I can tell you, I honestly didn't. I'm just saying that, there are things that sometimes YouTubers do. Not even YouTubers, but it's the press in general. TMZ, same way. They walk right up to people, take pictures of them going in and out of their homes and stuff like that. And so, like I said, some people like that kind of coverage. Some people don't like that kind of coverage. But Inside Edition, I was surprised. I was really surprised that they're going at them as hard as they are. But it wasn't even Inside Edition. Inside Edition is claiming that law enforcement is fed up with YouTubers, live streamers, and YouTubers, which is interesting, but it's they just said that they're out there and they film 24/7, which is their right. They're allowed to do that. And well, I don't know. I don't know if that's what they're thinking. There was a huge issue, if some of you guys remember, down in Georgia during the Quentin Simon case, which I thought that the behavior then was completely unacceptable and that it was detrimental to not necessarily the investigation itself, but it to me, it crossed all sorts of lines. That's what I thought. Because of the, it was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. I don't see that happening here, to be honest with you. I don't. I don't see that sort of behavior happening. And so I don't think it's like that right now, but it was pretty bad back then, you know. So that I know. But it was a really terrible time. And well, yeah, free speech, as long as you don't impede with people's privacy, as long as you don't impede with investigations, I agree. But sometimes it's not if you're allowed to do something, because there's a lot of things you're allowed to do. You can cuss out a 4-year-old if you want to. You won't go to jail for it. You might turn a lot of people away and go, you know, don't go around that person or this, or you can do all kinds of stuff that's not illegal. But it's, should you be doing it? That's sort of my point. But like I said, I'm not seeing that here. I'm not giving anybody shit or anything like that. Yelling fire in a theater when there's no fire is against the law. That's true. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I just think that they're probably just annoyed with them. I think that they're probably an annoyance to them. You know. Well, we saw a lot of this yesterday, is that, you know, I give my opinions sometimes. It's kind of what I do. And sometimes people don't like the opinion, and that's fine. I don't care about that. But remember, what did that guy say? I was God, what was that? What did that douchebag say? I can't even remember what he said to me. He said whatever. Skipping or draining, or you love Fredo. But I'm telling you, the thing that happened down in Georgia, which was like 3 years ago, was pretty bad. So Eric, so it looks like they might be taking Eric's question yesterday serious about Mexico. Looping, that's what it was called. Looping. You're looping. La 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 looper. Haters gonna hate, dog. And that's all I can say about it. Do you guys think that Sheriff Nanos says dog after certain sentences to people? I could just see him do that. Dude, haters gonna hate, dog. 75-year-old guy saying haters gonna hate. I was looping. You know, Sebastian Rogers' case has gotten a great deal of attention, which led to a whole slew of lawsuits and, it's all kinds of shit. I mean, it was just absolutely nuts. I know, he told me I was like looping. I was like, all right, well. No, but I saw that Labradoodle today. He didn't want any today. He knew that I could get away from him. Why should it be? Why should it be that when we have presidents? The last 2 presidents have been older than 75. I'm not getting political. I'm just saying, if you can't fly a plane, you shouldn't be the president. That's all I'm saying. What's the age that you can't fly a plane? I don't know. My dad tells me I loop when I talk. Yeah, well, I'm a looper, baby. What can I say? Looper's gonna loop. All right. What are we gonna start off with today? I guess let's go with Weber. Right. We'll go with Weber on line 2. God, somebody else was lighting me up in the comments yesterday. They were like, you don't need to make fun of people's looks. God, dude, shut up. Don't watch the show. I wasn't making fun. Well, I don't know. I made fun of the guy that had a chest tat that he purposely was showing while he was obviously on testosterone. And I pointed it out. Big friggin' deal. Who was on line one? I was on line one. Big deal, right? Was it really that bad? That's a fragile soapbox you're on. I don't even know, whatever. Soapbox. I thought it was funny. I don't care. I could care less. It's a fragile soapbox you're on. First of all, I've never stood on a soapbox in my entire life. It's the stupidest metaphor ever. Maybe high horse is better, or something else, but soapbox? I do it all the time. That's what I do here. All right. Let me change this. Yeah, it was funny, man. I mean, big deal. It's harmless. Not a big deal. I make fun of myself constantly. I'm the most self-loathing person. Well, I don't know if I am that bad. All right, Webbs, what you got?
So as I mentioned, I want to dig a little bit more into Brian's reporting on the use of polygraph tests in this case. So joining me right now is George Olivo, a 22-year veteran of the FBI.
Randy, no, I know that they get allotted, like they get haircuts, like I think it's like once a week, I think. But I don't know. He probably combs it himself, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how many people he's got out there with him.
FBI, a certified he looks 22. My gosh, look at this face. Amazing. A certified polygraph examiner. He's also famously tested Casey Anthony's parents, Gary Coleman's ex-wife, as part of A&E's lie detector.
Gary Coleman. The What You Talk About Willis, dude? Wow.
Truth or Deception last year. Again, face made for television. Okay. Is it common to be using polygraph tests in a case like this to clear people? I'm not even talking about it being used in a court of law, which we'll get to, but just to clear suspects. Is that common?
It's very common to use the polygraph as an investigative tool at this stage because investigators want to know if they're going down the right road or if they're headed down a dead end. So it's a good investigative tool.
You know what I'm going to ask you now. Are these reliable, right? Because my understanding is they're based off of physiological responses like heart rate, blood pressure, and you could have somebody.
So is this what they're? So this is what they're saying is what has cleared the family. Is that what they're insinuating here?
Who maybe is nervous, right? Or somebody's anxious. Doesn't mean there's deception, but I'm not the expert. You tell me, how reliable are these tests?
Well, let me begin by saying that the government does not use investigative tools that fail randomly. So they've been using polygraph for a long time. Legitimate polygraph is reliable if it's used correctly, and appropriately during the investigation. Now, when we talk about, I get a little nervous when we're talking about using the polygraph to clear someone. I'm not sure if it's just me getting caught up in the semantics, but you never want to rely on just one single investigative tool. That would be an improper use of polygraph if we were to use it as the final verdict in and of itself. Polygraph should be used as one piece of the truth puzzle.
I'm glad you mentioned it. By the way, from a legal point of view, sometimes courts may not admit them because there's not a scientific consensus.
Rick, you know what is admissible in court? Soapboxes.
On the reliability, there is in Supreme Court case law about that. But you tell me, how would you know? Let's say you interview somebody in a case, and I hear you. I hope there's additional information to rule somebody out. But how would you know if their answers, again, were a sign of deception, or they were nervous, or something of that nature, or maybe they're able to beat it in some way? How can you tell that?
Well, we can talk about that. There's two parts of that. Those are two good questions. Talk about countermeasures, about being able to beat the polygraph exam. We can deal with that. But first, I'll deal with how do you know if somebody is lying or not? Because you know, and most people know that it's not really what we would call a lie detector. People ask, does it detect a lie? And the answer is no. Probably better, we want to call it a stress detector. And so it's a known medical fact that when the body is exposed to stressful stimuli, it's going to react in certain ways. And for most normal people, getting caught in a lie with consequences, that risk of exposure, is a stressful stimuli. But the rub, and like you rightly pointed out, the rub is that every lie is a deception indicator, but not every stressful reaction is a lie.
Right. So how can someone train themselves? Maybe I don't even know if that.
In very rare circumstances, is polygraph evidence allowed in as evidence at a trial? The only way is, and this is why you almost never see it, is because it doesn't benefit both the prosecution and the defense typically. So you have to get both of them to agree that polygraph results can be presented to the jury. However, usually the person who has failed that says, or, you know, the side that's like, oh shit, we failed it, that they say no. So that's it. It almost never happens.
Train themselves
I don't know what states it's allowed in, but
to provide, let's say, deceptive answers, to lie and not be picked up on it.
Well, that's I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very difficult. I mean, you really have to thread the needle in the dark to do that, because
there's no way that a polygraph result is going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit one side, and that's it. I mean, it's just I cannot understand for the life of me why anybody would agree to it.
You have no idea what the examiner's looking at. And if anything looks manufactured or controlled in any way, then what people don't seem to realize, and which I don't think I've ever heard talked about, is the trump card that every polygraph examiner has is that if we're not comfortable with the data, if it looks somehow outside what's normal, we can say that that test is invalid. We can just say that it's a no opinion test, and we'll either do it again or try something different. But you don't have to accept the data just because numerically they may have a passing score. If something looks suspicious, and especially with the FBI, they're very well trained in picking up on countermeasures, then we can stop the test, or we can start over, or we can call the person.
Jason says, search First Amendment auditors. They exercise their right to protect your First Amendment rights, including freedom of the press. Yeah, I've seen some of them before. Some of them are a bit vomitous at times, but some are respectful and do it to make the point that it's that there is freedom of press, and which there is. I mean, absolutely, no question about
that.
And real quick, what kind of questions are they asked, and how long is a polygraph examination?
Normally, a polygraph examination takes about 2 hours, maybe less. It depends if the person's more talkative. The point is to get information. So there's basically 3 parts to the polygraph exam. There's the pre-test interview, the actual in-test where we conduct the exam, and the post-test interview to go over results and reactions and figure out what else we need to know.
Thank you for watching.
Oh my God, dude. Letter to the editor. Well, yes, it is true that sometimes if you're stoned or you're not supposed to take something before the test. I don't believe. We got our first Fredo jump scare of the night. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I wish that I was, and I'm sorry that I wasn't. So, damn.
She was telling me that.
Bummer. Okay. So, sounds like they're using polygraphs as a tool. What kind of a tool? I'm sure I don't know. Just to eliminate people, I guess. God. Fredo got me big time, dude. Kurt Cobain. All right, let's hear from Harvey Dum Dum. I am curious about this. Speaking of Fredo.
All right, so today, we're now 18 days since Nancy Guthrie, 84 years of age, abducted from her home. TMZ received another ransom note, all right? This one, Harvey says, is a little bit different. TMZ
says that every time, by the way. Harvey says every single, hey, what the hell? Oops. Okay. Total chaos mode here. Harvey says that every single one is different.
Founder Harvey Levin joins me now. Interesting. I'm old enough to remember what the name of your site stands for.
Wait a minute. Is it Ash Wednesday? Hold on. I didn't know that it was Ash Wednesday.
And it's somewhat apropos.
I wish. It's Lent.
Oh, because the 30-mile zone has now been expanded here, that they're now looking internationally, as had been suggested in one of the earlier letters that came to you, not cartels necessarily.
Harvey looks more reptilian by the day. He really does. Oh, man.
But Harvey, what does that mean to you? And what do you make of this letter as distinguished from the others?
Well, as it concerns international, yes, they have contacted, FBI has contacted the feds in Mexico, the federal.
You notice sometimes when Fredo's on the screen, he always does this. Like he always looks off the screen. I don't know what the hell he's looking at. I wonder all the time.
Yes, they have contacted, FBI has contacted the feds.
He just did it twice in a row. I don't know what the hell he's looking at. Yes, it's a cross on his forehead.
In Mexico, the federal agency there, and asked them to basically put an APB out to all of the police departments saying that be on the lookout for Nancy or her kidnapper. I am told this is not a hot lead. This is something they did because of proximity. They don't believe that if she is in Mexico, they took her there directly because they've checked Border Patrol cameras.
No, TMZ said they wouldn't talk about a specific kind of letter, but ransom letters still fair play. According to Harv.
But it is a possibility, so they're looking at it. As for the ransom note that we got today, it is, Chris, it's really sophisticated.
He says this every time too. It's like Harvey, we get it, dude. Like they use Chat GPT to do it.
I had to get help from my IT team and others to even understand it. It is demanding crypto, but not Bitcoin, a different form. And it's just the manner in which the money would move from one account to another is really, really complicated, but it's well thought out. And the media is involved in this because the media kind of triggers payment. It's very complicated. I've been asked not to get more detailed than that. but the FBI has it and they're looking at it.
You think it's the same person?
I don't know. I don't know.
Of course not. Whoever's doing it does it because they know that they're like, oh, look what I did. By the way, they should all go to prison for it too. But do you think anybody's, are they going to even find these guys? Can they find these guys?
I don't have a gut on that either. It could be the address where you send the money is different, but that doesn't mean anything. It's a sophisticated person here, and the person who wrote the initial ransom note, it wasn't as sophisticated, but it was well thought out. It was.
I remember he's lost his friggin' mind. He's lost his friggin' mind. I like his plant in the background though, and I don't like plants.
Clearly written by a smart person. I just don't know.
Harvey, I appreciate you. Thank you for your candor. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
I'm beginning to think that every note is fake. I'm also beginning to think that nobody has any idea what the hell is going on. I was thinking about that earlier today. Excuse me. I was thinking about that earlier today. That it just feels like it's a wild goose chase, with all respect to Miss Nancy and her family. But this feels that the longer this goes on, the more it feels like, who friggin' knows?
Thanks, Chris.
Oh my God. Why couldn't he just do it? I got it. Did you see that? Did you see that? All right. Let's see what Enton has to say. Here's our guy. Let's go back here.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my show. I really, really appreciate it. Please click to.
I did. Did you see that? Dubs in the chat. Dubs in the chat for catching the Cuomo promo.
Subscribe. This is now Wednesday, the latest on the Nancy Guthrie investigation. New information about polygraphs and also the FBI talking to officials in Mexico. I'm going to get into all of that in this episode. I also wanted to show you guys all these flowers out front, outside Nancy's house. There's been a ton more showing up, mostly, gosh, there's so many, mostly yellow, you can see here. So just...
Harvey has no business even. He needs to just turn this stuff over, but he knows that he's going to get clicks. He knows that it's going to get hits on his website. Their website probably has over a couple million hits a day. It's probably skyrocketed. Like most people's numbers, I guess, have probably gone up because of this case. But
sad to see a lot more of the neighbors have been coming out. So I'm going to get into all the latest developments that happened today in this episode of Brian Enton Investigates. All right, hey guys, so I'm here outside Nancy Guthrie's house. I wanted to give you guys the latest developments. First of all, I was able to confirm that
his hair looks coughed.
They are using polygraphs when it comes to clearing people in the Nancy Guthrie investigation, and that it's been going on for a while. I'd actually heard about it for a while, but I was able to finally report it today just based on the sources that I was talking to. And this is pretty common in other cases that I've covered. You know, polygraphs, essentially lie detector tests, are not admissible in court, but law enforcement, the FBI, will use them behind the scenes during the investigation just to clear people. And so that is happening in this case, and I'm told they have used polygraphs to clear people in the Nancy Guthrie case. So that's new. The other thing is this Mexico element. The FBI is now confirming that cases are not admissible in court, but law
it's Dolly back there.
Enforcement, the FBI, will use them behind the scenes during the investigation just to clear people. And so that is happening in this case, and I'm told they have used polygraphs to clear people in the Nancy Guthrie case. So that's new. The other thing is this Mexico element. The FBI is now confirming that they are having conversations and in touch with authorities in Mexico when it comes to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. Remember, Mexico is not far from Nancy's house where I am right now. It's like 50, 60 miles. It's like an hour to an hour and a half away. And it's very easy to get into Mexico. All the checkpoints really are when you're leaving Mexico for the most part. So it makes sense why they would
He's on court TV. That was Vinny Politan.
be in touch with officials in Mexico.
Lee McDonough will be here on Friday.
The sheriff has said that they have no evidence that Nancy was taken to Mexico, but at the same time, they don't seem to have any evidence that she wasn't taken to Mexico. And I'm going to get into that more with my guest in a second. I've actually got someone on today who is a former FBI agent in Tucson and worked with the Mexicans and can really tell us. He actually
worked with the Mexicans.
Seems to think it's very possible that Nancy was taken south and maybe across the border, and he's going to explain why and how that would change the investigation. So that's coming up in a second. So I also wanted to reach you this is the latest.
I think that they're underestimating. I mean, they're making it seem like it's extremely easy to get into Mexico without being detected. I mean, I don't think it's that simple, but
Official update that the sheriff's office just sent out a little while ago. So in terms of DNA, they say investigators are currently analyzing biological evidence found at Nancy Guthrie's residence. DNA profiles are currently under lab analysis. The number of profiles and other related details remain part of the active investigation. No further information will be released at this time. We know that they are now doing the investigative genetic genealogy, which I've told you guys about, which is a big deal, but it takes time. That's what cracked the Brian Kohberger case. Tips, of course, they're still asking for tips. There was an anonymous donation today of $100,000. So the donation has gone up. This is in addition to the $100,000 reward from the FBI. So of course, if anyone knows anything, the reward is now up to $200,000. They're saying that the sheriff's office has received various requests for confirmation of various topics, including working with Mexican authorities, utilizing polygraph tests, specific video surveillance requests, financial analysis, and they're saying they're not confirming or releasing any details regarding those topics. So they're not going to comment on the stuff that I've confirmed, essentially, they're saying. They're saying that we do not share any information about SWAT activity. There was a call this afternoon that was not related to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. And a few of you have been messaging me about that on Instagram. Some of you guys listen to the scanners and are like, oh, I heard about a SWAT call. That SWAT call wasn't related to Nancy Guthrie. Trust me, if something is related to Nancy Guthrie and I find out about it, you guys know I'm going to be all over it. And I've got really good sources now. But the SWAT call today was not related to Nancy Guthrie, and there were no official briefings today. You guys remember the sheriff did a ton of interviews yesterday with a lot of media, including me. Everybody got 10 minutes, but today there's been no official briefings from the sheriff's office. I'm joined now by Jeff Cortese. He is a former FBI agent, retired special agent. He worked assignments in New Orleans and also in Tucson, which is obviously where I am. He was a SWAT operator, member of.
He's got a cross on his head too. This might be the only chat where other creators are allowed to be mentioned.
The Public Corruption and Southwest Border Violence Squad. So you're the perfect guy for us to talk to right now, because we confirmed that the FBI.
His cross is way worse than friggin' Fredo's.
Is now communicating with Mexican authorities regarding the Nancy Guthrie investigation. And that's the most we were able to get from our FBI sources. What do you make of that? And what do you think that means?
Well, I'm not the least bit surprised, to be honest with you. The proximity of Tucson to Mexico certainly lends itself as an escape route, if you will. If I'm being candid, if it were me and I was planning an abduction in Tucson, I would either stay in Tucson, or I would go south.
It's not you.
The further away from the border that you move, moving away from the border, you're going to face more scrutiny than going towards the border. In all likelihood, based on the timeline as we understand it, it would be, they'd be far into Mexico if that was their desired route before anyone even knew she was gone. It's a 60 miles, 65 mile, hour and a half, hour change, depending on traffic, et cetera. But easy route out. relative to, the other options going north, south, east, or west, or northeast or west, you're going to potentially expose yourself to more checkpoints, which is more scrutiny.
And is the Nogales crossing, isn't it? Is that the one that's closest?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years, but I was doing a story down there and I went in and I remember I walked in, and going into Mexico was very easy. I remember when I came back out, there was CBP and there was a metal detector and, you had to show your ID and that kind of thing. But I think I remember just walking right in when you went into Mexico.
Yeah, getting into Mexico is going to be, for the most part, much easier than coming into the United States. There are at times random checkpoints that are set up for people who are departing the United States into Mexico, but by and large, it's going to be a much easier transition from the US to Mexico than vice versa.
So would it be relatively easy for someone to get Nancy in? I mean, keeping in mind that she's 84, she's not going to be able to walk in. Like, she doesn't have that kind of mobility. If you had her in the car, how difficult would that be?
I wouldn't expect that to be very difficult to drive in there at all. Obviously, when you're dealing with somebody who's a little bit more advanced in age, there are other physical issues that captors would have to consider, but none of that should preclude them from being able to seamlessly get into Mexico, in my opinion.
And once across the border, I mean, I guess you could take her anywhere. I mean, I guess that's
yeah.
what
I mean, at that point, it
you
depends
do.
on. Yeah, it depends on what their intentions are. It depends on what contacts they have. It depends on if they're from Mexico.
It's not that I care that other people are mentioned in the chat. It's just that it starts fights. That is, the only fight that I want to start is like a fight that I'm going to start, if that makes any sense. Because I will start one.
If they're working with people in Mexico, or if it's just if they're working in isolation. So, there are a lot of factors, but, they have access to the country and the ability to move around. So I'm not the least bit surprised that we've made contact. I'm sure that we're working with our Legat office down there in Mexico.
But I did think it was funny that he was in the background.
Tapping our sources, anything we can do to identify possible route of travel.
What is our relationship like with Mexico when the FBI says that they're communicating with Mexico now? Like, what does that mean on the back end?
I'm not going to say that it's without challenges, because there are challenges, but we do have a very good working relationship with Mexico. Obviously, politics can play a factor in the when it gets to the media and whatnot. But when it comes to law enforcement, nothing is quite as easy as working with our own people within the United States. Obviously, you're dealing with international elements. You're dealing with law enforcement in Mexico. That
Either.
we do have a good working relationship with them. It's not going to be perfect, but we've done great things down there. I think the Brian Terry investigation is a good example of that. I was in Tucson at the time, followed only about a month later by the Gabby Giffords mass shooting with Jared Lochner. But our FBI investigators, it took some time, but they were able to track down the shooter into Mexico and bring him back here for justice. So nobody's out of reach, but it does involve a little bit more diplomacy, I think, amongst our interested parties.
And my mind might just be kind of scrambled right now because I've been working so much around the clock. But when you said the Brian Terry, remind me what that was again. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Forget the exact year. It was in December. I think it was 11 or 11, 10. It was a CBP BORTAC officer who was working with a team in the desert south of Tucson. They were, as I understand it.
I don't believe that she's in Mexico. I also, not to be a negative, I'm not going to say Nancy because that's disrespectful. To be a negative Joshy. I just find it highly improbable that her condition is good. You can take that however you want. She's, say this was a ransom for hire, or excuse me, kidnapping ransom, then how is she going to hold up? How?
They were looking for rip crews that were stealing dope off of those who are importing it into the United States. but they were very violent. And the BORTAC unit that Brian Terry was part of encountered one of these teams. A shootout ensued, and he was unfortunately, his life was unfortunately taken.
And you were the FBI was able to track down the shooter?
Well, it was a massive effort immediately following. There were SWAT teams from all over the region that were involved in scouring the desert, looking for any indication where these individuals might have gone. And our investigators over the following months were able to, through various investigative resources, identify the shooter and have them returned to the United States.
So, I mean, you obviously know Tucson because you worked in the FBI here. When you
Yes.
said that if you were the abductor, you think that they would either go south.
Well, so there's two schools of thought here. When you say that this was much more a sophisticated crime than people want to admit, I think that the reason that people believe that it's sophisticated is because it hasn't been solved yet. So maybe there's a level of sophistication there, but then you watch the guy at the front door and he doesn't look sophisticated at all. He actually looks like a dumbass when he built the Nest on the Nest camera. So I kind of get what you're saying. I sort of understand that, but at the same time, I think that so many people have interfered, between, I think there's a lot of smoke screens going on. I don't know. We'll see.
To Mexico or stay in Tucson. Why do you say stay in Tucson?
Well, I think if you're transporting somebody, it's just personal opinion. I wouldn't want to deal with the potential of the different checkpoints that surround Tucson. There are a lot of checkpoints and in and around Tucson, and so if I'm not going south, I'm probably going to try my luck to stay put. That's obviously I'm not suggesting that is de facto what happened. I'm just opining on how I might.
It's very hard to find missing people. It really, it is. It's just hard.
Consider the approach. But again, it also depends on the motivation of the individuals who are involved. And at this point, I think it's a little bit difficult to say for sure.
Yeah, and when you say that, the reason it piqued my interest is because the two SWAT operations that we've seen happen were pretty close to Tucson, potential people of interest, which doesn't seem like they're panned out at this point. But the one was in Rio Rico, which is like an hour away. And then the other one
on its way down.
Yeah, the other one was just 2 miles from Nancy's house, which when I interviewed the sheriff yesterday, I asked him, does that indicate that you believe the suspect is still close? And he didn't really give a clear answer, but he didn't say no. So I don't know. The sense does seem to be that this person could be close by.
I mean, the possibility, I think, in terms of probabilities, those are my two high probability responses. At the end of the day, human behavior being what it is, you have to leave open the possibility that, people are going to do things that are outside of what would be normal behavior. Maybe they'd be willing to take a chance. Maybe they had a route, through rougher terrain that allowed for avoiding checkpoints. I think they have to take the approach of anything is possible at this point. They got to look at the most probative evidence, and they have to follow that to its natural end.
So many people are saying this guy seems like an amateur based on the video, the way the gun, like it's like the wrong gun for the different holster. And, he tries to cover the camera with like grass at first before pulling it. But I was thinking on my drive this morning to Nancy's house, I mean, all the experts are saying that, but he's so far kind of outsmarted the cops from what we know. I mean, they're saying he's an amateur, but at the same time, he's kind of pulling it off at this point.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point.
They said the same thing. I mean, they did say the same thing about Koberger, and I mean, he left all kinds of shit. Let's see. Cat Human, is that how you say it? Thank you for your donation. I appreciate that. You have a good channel here. I've just started watching them all. Your top shelf genuine. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Little snarky at times. I goof off a little too much sometimes, but I appreciate you saying that. That's very kind of you.
I don't know how much. I think Joe Citizen is just a little bit more savvy about
And I mean, that does not look like a cross on his forehead. I'm sorry.
criminal behavior than he or she used to be, if for no other reason than the number of documentaries and true crime shows. I mean, people are smarter than they used to be about how to evade detection because of some of just open source information that exists. I think those are reasonable questions about, the location of his holster. Is that how a professional would wear a gun or use a gun? Does that mean,
Yeah. Gotcha.
okay, so maybe he's not a regular gun toter, but maybe he is a regular in terms of breaking into locations, right? So he just might be an amateur when it comes to using a weapon. I don't know the answers to those questions, but I do think that there's a lot of information out there. The true crime movies, and even to the extent where I think there's, the CSI effect, right? Where there's this belief that that law enforcement can pull evidence out of thin air in many cases. That could ramp up somebody's sensitivity even more and make them more prepared for criminal activity, even if they aren't super experienced.
I'm an imperfect human.
And Tucson's a unique area in and of itself because of the darkness of night. Boy, that is a
It is.
real thing that a
It's
lot of
so
people
dark.
a
Yeah.
lot of people do not understand.
It's the darkest. Anybody going there, I agree with you. There to take her would have allowed for cameras. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think that it's just crazy to think that somebody can just disappear into thin air, That's sort of what it feels like again. And I hate that. That's what really bothers me about a lot of these cases that never get solved. I'm not saying that this one isn't going to be solved. But the fact that like people can just disappear without a trace, and that there are people that are, you don't have to be very sophisticated to get away with this kind of stuff. I'm telling you, I always forget the young lady's name, but two like 16-year-old girls killed their best friend, took her like 5 miles up a hill, buried her. They looked for her for 9 months. They couldn't find her. She was on the side of the road. I mean, within like I would say, what is it, like 5 or 10 feet, buried under a bunch of brush. They searched for helicopters, EquiSearch, everything. It's just not that easy to find missing people, especially when they threw branches over her. That's it.
Stand and
Off the side of the road.
appreciate how dark that place gets. They have
It's not looking for a needle in a haystack. It's you got to find the haystack to search in first. And that's what I think people don't understand, is that when you're searching in the dark, when you have no idea where to look, it's as frustrating as anything. It's not a needle in a haystack. You got to find the haystack.
a couple of observatories nearby that I think they minimize and limit the light pollution to facilitate viewing from those observatories. It is
Thank you,
darker
Mary.
than
I
dark at
appreciate
night.
that.
And so not surprised that you don't see some, have a lot of witnesses coming forward saying they saw vehicles driving away. If you're driving with your lights off, boy, you could go through neighborhoods and never be known.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people who haven't been here. The neighborhood, Nancy's neighborhood, is just pitch black at night.
Yep.
If there's a full moon, you get the light from the moon. But I mean, everyone's like,
Any
"What?"
cloud cover and you lost that.
Yeah, and everyone's asking about ring cameras. I'm like, they're not going to see anything. It's so dark. Even driving out here at night is,
Yep.
and there's all the dips. So like, it's hard. It's kind of crazy.
Yes.
You've been driving
Very
around
mountainous
here.
terrain,
Yeah.
very hilly terrain, very rough terrain. Evidence collection is going to be difficult. Eyewitnesses are going to be hard to find. Very difficult. I think, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, and the other thing is, a couple of the local law enforcement people I've talked to here said they don't think this looks like a cartel sort of thing. Like, it's too amateur. They would have pulled the camera right away. Since you worked those kinds of cases, do you agree?
I would like to do that.
So from my experience, having worked down there, and I was a little bit ago, what I would say, generally speaking, the cartels operate very different north of the border than they do south of the border. They're willing to do things south of the border that they're not as willing to do north of the border. Reason.
This will be interesting. I'm going to rewind that, but I want to read this. And Sammy says, thank you. I appreciate your dedication to this case. Thank you, Josh. I'm fascinated by the case. It's probably one of the first cases that I've been this fascinated with in a really long time. I've chose to skip a bunch of, I guess, high profile cases over the years because they didn't pique my interest at all. But this one just feels a little different because, you know, I mean, Nancy could be, she just feels like, I don't know. It just feels like she's everybody's mom or grandma, like that. She kind of just has that look about her. And I know people say, well, you know, it's getting too much attention to this. And, well, you know, this is an unusual circumstance, this case. And so, like I said, it has, I don't know. It has fascinated me. You know, I did very little on the Idaho 4 case, very little. You know, Murdoch, those kind of cases. I didn't follow those cases very well. I just can't imagine.
Being is they want to be able to conduct their business in the United States. They do not want the United States to get to raise their threat level against them. And so, you know, the killings that I saw, the violence that I saw very frequently, if it was coming direct from the cartels, was going to be targeted to people who owed money, people who are in the business. They want to, for the most part, stay away from drawing unnecessary attention beyond what they already do. So I would be surprised that if they would have an interest. They're making plenty of money. You know, this is a high profile figure. If it was discovered the cartels were involved, it's going to just raise the threat level against them and draw more attention than necessary. Never mind the fact that it did lack the professionalism that I would expect. They're very savvy. They're very patient.
I'm not sure who the guy is. I think
they're very good at what they do.
He's not bad. I like him.
When they decide to do something.
Right. Yeah. Like, what would the motivation for them be? I can't think of it for this, you know?
Right. High risk, very low reward from based on the information that we have at this point.
No question.
So, I mean, just because you know Tucson and you lived here and you worked for the FBI here, and you've obviously been following this story, what is your theory? I mean, everybody asks me always, ask me what my theory is. And I've got a couple, but is there something that comes to mind to you where you're like, I bet this could be an explanation here of what happened?
You know, I hesitate to posit a theory because at the end of the day, it's the evidence that's going to drive the investigation. And I think there are a lot of theories floating out there, and they can become distractions. What you have is a.
I want to hear what he says, but yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with the relationship that I have with my grandmother and how obviously close that we are. And that I take care of her on a daily basis, day in and day out. I mean, it's, you know, a central point of my life. It has been for, you know, a few years now where I do everything for her that, I mean, she's, you know, she does certain things by herself, but she doesn't drive. Sometimes she cooks, but not a lot. And she has trouble cleaning and things like that. And so, yeah, it sucks to think about that this is happening to somebody.
Massive resource on the ground with the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Office. And I don't doubt for a second that they have teams of people who are brainstorming, chasing down all the various leads and looking for the most probative evidence. And like I said before, you know, following it to its natural end. Any theory that I might pose is not something that they haven't already thought of and isn't something that they're not in the process of chasing down and could only, I think, just ultimately be a distraction that I don't want to
Yeah, that's
engage in.
fair.
Yeah.
Is there anything that stood out to you as particularly unusual?
I do. I do. She loves liverswurst sandwiches. Oh my God. Like,
boy, the whole thing has
they
elements
always look at me funny at the sandwich shop too. And I always make sure to tell them that it is for my grandmother. She loves pot pie.
of unusual.
Yeah.
You know, if you do this job long enough, you see all kinds of things. You engage with all kinds of people. You witness or investigate all types of crimes. I don't know that there's anything in and of itself outside of, you know, we're very limited. We have
Great.
only the evidence that the government has allowed us to have. So to assume that we have everything would be, I think, naive of me, right? But if this was all the evidence, that would be shocking. That would be the shocking thing. And I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, it seems like they have more, especially because of these SWAT raids that we've seen that, and one at least we know was a federal search warrant, the recent one on Friday night. Can you explain a little? I mean, if it was a federal search warrant signed off by a judge, they must know something, right? They can't just go busting into someone's house, take the phones,
Right.
close
No,
the
absolutely.
street down. I mean, there's something we don't know here, right?
So this happened after, if I remember the timeline correctly, this happened after they posted the pictures. And those pictures, without question, were going to tickle the tip line, if you will. We knew, watching this, those of us who have been there, knew that their tip line was going to go through the roof. They were going to start getting tips. Everybody's going to say, not everybody, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to say they recognize that person. I know that person's eyes. I spoke to this person the other day. They didn't really give me a good answer as to what they were doing between these hours. I called my ex-boyfriend at that time and he wasn't home. You're going to run the gamut of tips and they're going to have to chase all that stuff down. You're going to have varying degrees of information. Some people are going to speak very emphatically about things that maybe aren't 100% true. And so the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Office just has to chase down the most viable leads, and based on that information, could get sufficient evidence to justify, you know, a stop and a search, et cetera. So I mean, I'm not surprised at that. I think that's a natural result of tickling the tip line, as I said.
But is it unusual for them to do a federal search warrant, have the SWAT teams out there, just to? That's not just a follow-up on a lead, is it?
No. No, that's an excellent point. So it's not just because somebody called in that they're going to start pulling over everybody that.
And Rod, yeah, actually, my grandma Diaz passed away in 2016. This is my mother's grandma. That was my dad's mom, who she died of renal failure, and they gave her about a week and a half to live, and they brought in hospice. And I was actually there the morning that she died. I was able to hold her hand when she stopped breathing, and it was I don't know, it was a wonderful experience, but it was heartbreaking at the same time. But you know, that's just sort of how it is.
You know, a complainant called in about.
No, it's okay.
They must or
Not
might have had additional information that led them to believe this was a viable subject. So yeah, it goes to our previous point that there's likely more information that exists out there that supported their ability to do those types of things and take that kind of law enforcement action.
We confirmed that they've been going to gun stores with 60 photos and 60 names, showing them the photos and the names. The 40 to 60. The number surprised me that it's that many. What
Well,
does that mean?
you know, it just depends on how they're coming to those names and faces. What do we know? We know, at least from the public, what we know is we've got an individual who has an approximate height and weight. We've got clothing that is somewhat identifiable. The shoes, the pants, the jacket, the backpack, all of those things, items may be sold at.
My grandmother now, she's the only parent. I say that, mother, father. She's the only parent and grandparent that I have left. That's it. She's it. That's all.
Multiple locations. They're going to basically be cross-referencing every component that they can to come up with potential names, right? Who may have bought this item and this item. And then from that, they're going to go then reasonably to gun shops. And I think what it shows is really how on the ground, the FBI and Pima County sheriffs, like they are chasing these leads down and they're taking all the necessary steps to try to identify who these individuals might be.
There seemed to be a lot of surprise that there wasn't an arrest that resulted from this. And again, it was a big raid on Friday night. I mean, there was a lot of law enforcement. Is that typical? Did that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's just the nature of how some of these things go. Not every quote unquote SWAT hit or search warrant results in arrests. There are oftentimes you conduct a search warrant and you're doing that to collect more evidence, collect more information. Arrests may come later on down the road, but they didn't have sufficient evidence at that time necessarily to arrest anyone. So the fact that people were subject to the search and then released by itself does not make that suspicious in any way.
Are there a lot of ways, and I know it's harder to get into the U.S., but are there a lot of ways to get into Mexico without being noticed?
She's good. She's a good lady.
Just as there are a lot of ways into the United States from Mexico, the opposite is true as well. The Tucson sector has a lot of desert, a lot of open desert, but it's extremely rough terrain.
Here, hold on.
I would be less inclined to think that they would try a more difficult trek through the desert with somebody in an advanced age. Particularly knowing how easy it would be to probably just drive straight in.
I have a sister.
That being said, there are ample opportunities to cross in without taking the main roads or walking through the POE.
I really appreciate Jeff for talking to me. It's interesting, with some of my retired FBI friends, they put me in touch with other friends of theirs, and they're like, oh, I know somebody here or there, and I know somebody who worked in Tucson, so it's kind of like becoming this network of people, and it's awesome that everybody's talking to me and giving me their insight, and I appreciate my first time interviewing Jeff, and I appreciate him for doing it. Something else I wanted to share with you is a lot of you have been asking about just all the media presence. I mean, Nancy Street, there's media up and down the entire street. And there have been a few neighbors that have been annoyed. Not very many, but a couple have come out and just been like, it's ridiculous that you all are still here. But I will say for the most part, people seem happy we're here. I talked to one neighbor, and this is why I'm bringing this up just before I started doing this episode. And she just came over and wanted to chat, and she had a golden doodle. And I see so many dogs out here, and I always go,
golden doodles. Those doodle poodles, they're not as nice as people think they are. I don't care what anybody says.
Over to see the dogs just because it kind of cheers me up, and it's nice to see people's dogs. And anyway, she was saying we're really happy you guys are still here. And I was like, oh, really? Thank you for saying that. It seems like some neighbors are annoyed. And she's like, no, most of us are really happy because we feel like if you guys leave, it's going to be forgotten about and Nancy will never come home.
I think so too.
So we're happy you guys are staying. And that just made me feel good because that really is the reason that most of us are here, because we want to continue to cover the case. And, I know that the media gets a bad rap sometimes, but it is media pressure and attention that I've found with cases really does make a huge difference. I mean, when the media goes home and the pressure is gone, and the sheriff and the FBI don't feel like they're getting calls every day and, oh my gosh, everybody's still out there and we haven't gotten anything. I mean, that's not a good thing. So I do believe the media staying is a good thing, and I was really happy to see one of the neighbors kind of acknowledge that. The other thing is Marnie Hughes, who is my News Nation colleague, was out here, and she's a good friend of mine. We've worked together since we both started at News Nation, and she has this missing series that she started after the Gabby Petito case that really focuses on other missing cases that don't get a lot of attention, and there are so many. And people have already said to me, why is this case getting so much attention and others don't? People used to say that about Gabby Petito too. And I always tell them, look, News Nation, we have this series that airs every week where we spotlight cases in depth with that aren't getting attention. And so she was out here, and I wanted to introduce you guys to her because she has a really interesting insight on this case, just because she does so many of these missing stories and investigations. So I wanted to introduce you guys to Marnie. I'm joined now by Marnie Hughes, my News Nation colleague and also my friend. And it's been so.
All right, hold on. I know, he looks better than I do.
Great to see you out here. First of all, I just wanted to ask you, you do so many missing stories. I mean, how many have you done so far?
We've done somewhere around 250, in that range.
So you've really become like an expert on missing people in a sense. I mean, you've been out here for a couple days now. What was your first, I feel like I've kind of become numb to some things because I've been out here for 2 weeks. What were your
I did. I just turned 40 in November.
impressions when you got out here?
Well, first impression just on the attention this case is receiving stands out, and it's a question we get a lot, and it's a criticism these cases get. So like Nancy's case, why are so many people paying attention?
All right. Sir, if you're going to certify it, certify the election. Go ahead, certify it.
To this when there's so many other cases. I mean, my immediate answer is we are paying attention to other cases, but there's something unique about this. One, the circumstances in which she was taken in the middle of the night, an 84-year-old woman who does that. And she's Savannah Guthrie's mom. So those are two big reasons why this case is getting so much attention. Gabby Petito's case, which you and I both covered, also got national and global attention. Why? They were vlogging this romantic journey, road trip across the country, and there's video evidence of it. We saw the video on the side of the street when the state troopers pulled them over. So we had a lot to go on, and it kind of told a story.
All right. So Rhett is the official baddie alerter. And he has alerted that we have a baddie. A baddie means that she's a pretty lady, a pretty woman, or just a pretty person. Because I think Brett also certified a dude the other day, too.
A lot of the other cases, we don't
Dubs in the chat.
have half of that. So it's a lot easier to pursue them investigatively. It's a lot easier to get the public's attention when you have those elements. A lot of other stories don't have that. That said, families want this type of attention on every single one of their cases. I wish they got it, but it's a resource thing and they often don't. But I think the public's help can really contribute to the investigation in this case, and let's hope it does. They're getting.
If she's single, she has the biggest wedding ring on for a single person I've ever seen in my life.
Thousands and thousands of tips, which is incredible.
Yeah, and some people are like, oh, the case is going cold. But I mean, you actually work cold case missing cases. And so you know the difference. This doesn't feel like a cold case.
I read a stat recently in the last 24 hours, Brian, something like 84 days a case is considered cold, or up to a year it can be considered cold. I talk to families who have a missing person 10 years, 20 years ago, and they're like, our case is not cold. We'll talk to an investigator and go, no, we're still pursuing leads on that. So I think that it's subjective, cold case or not. This is not cold. This is hot. And I feel like there's momentum in this case because of how much evidence we have. We have the gloves that they're testing for evidence, a glove. We have the video surveillance from the front porch, whatever evidence they have from inside of the house. They have a lot. A lot of other missing cases that we cover don't have half of that in terms of evidence. People, frankly, just fall off the grid and their loved ones go, they vanished and they would not have taken off. We don't understand. That's not the case in this one, which I think helps with police.
And you drove around the neighborhood a lot. You were over at the spot where they found that one glove, or I don't know if it was a pair of gloves. What's your sense from the area? Like, what are your takeaways after driving around so much?
It's very windy. There's a lot of really thick vegetation. It's dark at night. So all of that made me think how hard it would be to find this place. You wouldn't stumble upon Nancy's house if you weren't looking for it, especially showing up with a mask and a gun. You wouldn't just wander on this house. And as we watched the suspect walk up to the door, the place where they found the gloves, so we drove from Nancy's.
Yeah, the Gabby Petito, I covered that a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, some, just not I will say Fruitland Police Department has never let up. We've been blessed with the way that they've handled Michael's case. I know that they have never quit, and they're still working hard on Michael's case, and I hope that that there's a resolution, prosecution resolution. That way Michael can come home.
House to that location, and that's a busier road. There's a lot of garbage on the side of the road. As soon as I saw that spot, I hung less hope on the DNA in that glove that it connects back here to the house, just because it could have been thrown out by anybody. It's a black latex glove. Investigators still have to check it out, which I understand. But based on where it was and how many days after she was missing that it was found, I don't hold out a lot of hope. What I do hold out hope is the DNA evidence that they're gathering from inside the house, and if that is a hit in the system.
You talk to so many families every week of, people who are missing and like going through the worst time. I keep thinking about Savannah Guthrie, and I know she's a celebrity. I think people think like, oh, because you're a celebrity, like, it might feel different or it might be different, but you can just tell from her videos, like it's so raw, it doesn't matter how famous or how much money you have.
Yeah, no, she's grief stricken. And I think every family, there's this like darkness of living in the unknown, and the mind is a powerful thing, and it tends to go to the worst places. And I would imagine Savannah, like any of us, if a loved one is taken in the manner that her mom was, you think about what she went through in the middle of the night, when she woke up and someone took her, the fear, her health challenges. I mean, all of that is very scary. And where your mind can go to pretty bad places, hope is a pretty powerful thing also. And I think instinct. I talk to all these missing families, and especially parents of missing children, which is heartbreaking. They hold on to hope, and there's this instinctual nature about their search. And I hear a lot of moms say, I believe they're still alive. I would know if it was something otherwise. The last thing I'll say on that is people want answers. They want closure in whatever way you define that. If it's an outcome, then not knowing is what is so hard for people. The wondering.
I don't think that they're doing public searches. I don't think that that's happening.
What happened and why, and not having those answers. I pray in every single one of our cases that the families get those answers, and that the Guthries do, given the circumstances of this one.
Yeah, and I just keep thinking about like all the pressure on investigators. I mean, you have President Trump talking about this case quite frequently, and the FBI is involved, and he obviously is like, wants them to solve it. I'm sure is pressuring Kash Patel. You have the sheriff who has a lot of criticism right now, and I'm sure he's pressuring his people. I mean, you would think with all the resource, they probably have every resource.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got this signal sniffer that no one's ever heard, You would think with all
the signal identifier, signal sniffer, it's just like the weirdest thing. Every time I hear that, I think of like a pig nose, just like sniffing. I don't know why. Oink, oink. And it makes the oink, oink noise. Oink, 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 oink. God.
All the resources, they've got to be getting close.
I feel like they are. You and I have talked about that the last couple of days. I feel like there's a lot of momentum right now. We keep learning kind of a trickle of information, whether it's checking the gun stores here locally, the backpack and the purchase of that, how they cross-reference that. I'm pretty hopeful about cell phone or digital extraction after going to that crime lab here in Tucson. We haven't heard a lot from investigators about that, and I'm curious what they have, if they've pinged a cell phone in the area or if they've looked deeper into Google searches of Nancy before she disappeared.
Yeah, truffle pigs, I believe, have incredible sniffers.
I think there are a lot of avenues they can go down, and when you have the sheriff and also the FBI working, that's only a good thing. It may seem a little messy, and I think all investigations can, and you can, I think have a judgment on that later. But right now the mission is to find Nancy. So all hands on deck, 24/7 operation. I see that all as a good thing for her and for her family.
Yeah. And you mentioned the criticism, like now I've already seen it with this case on Twitter, like why is this woman getting so much attention when there are all these other missing people? And again, you do the stories every week that like people aren't really talking as much about at all. How do people find your stories, like so they can get the word out about these cases that aren't getting attention?
Well, so when we launched our missing series in 2021, after Gabby's disappearance, we would often go seeking cases, trying to find cases, working with.
I'm hesitant to do it, but we might listen to a little Nancy tonight, maybe. I don't know. Should we?
Some of our local stations. We would work through NAMIS, the national database, which is a depository for missing cases. And now that we've been doing this for 5 years, the cases come to us and people find us. So I tell everybody, if you have a missing case you think we should investigate, send it directly to it.
Well, I think Megan Kelly actually covered that, so we can play a little bit of that. I'm kind of surprised that Enton didn't do it.
You can go to newsnationnow.com and submit a case. There's a group of like 5 of us that we actively look through every submission.
I mean, we haven't given Nancy much run, so.
That we get, we reach out to the families, we talk to law enforcement. It gives families a lot of solace to know that they're heard. And so that's a bridge that we try to gap, or our gap we try to fill, or whatever.
It's a gap we try to bridge.
Whatever the state.
That's a bridge we try to gap. Is that what you just said? A bridge we try to gap.
That's a bridge that we try to gap. Our gap we try to fill, or whatever the state, whatever the
bridge
saying
the gap,
is.
I think,
Yeah, bridge the gap.
Yeah.
But as long as they're heard and they feel like somebody's paying attention to their case, that can go a long way.
Josh, I'm sorry to admit, look, she's very popular. I love Nancy Grace. Just hate when she mutes Chris. She's very popular. Very popular. She's been popular for years. She's almost infamous in a way. I don't dislike her. Like I said, I used to watch her. Whenever I come home from work, when the Casey Anthony case was going on, I turned her on every single day.
Way in motivating investigators too to take a second look. I say every case is solvable and every missing person.
And I like how hard she was on Scott Peterson's dumbass. So she has my respect for that, but
person matters no matter their
I don't watch her much.
Race, their background.
She's snarky too. She's very snarky. I can appreciate that. I just thought she was mean to my friend.
The decisions they've made, they're somebody's person.
Yeah.
And they deserve our attention. So yeah, send us cases. We've had some positive outcomes on cases that we've helped solve because somebody has seen our story and called it in. Some, teenage girls who had been lured away online. We have outcomes in cases that give families the closures they need, but a lot of cases remain open and active, and we're just waiting for that one tip that cracks it.
Well, thank you, Marnie.
Thanks,
it's good
Brian.
seeing you out here as always. Yeah,
of course.
It's always really nice to talk to Marnie.
All right. Who do we? Yeah, we can get a son of a gun. Yeah, let's play a little
breaking news.
We'll play a little Nancy here. I don't listen to her very much. I haven't in some time, but I would like to give some commentary to her. I'm already terrified. Oh boy, here she goes. She looks pissed already.
News. Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing day 18. This as another much more threatening ransom note is received. And we learn, contrary to what Sheriff Nano said just 24 short hours ago, the search has extended into Mexico. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Tonight, we are learning the search has extended into Mexico. This as another ransom note has been received. This ransom note offers a different Bitcoin address than the others. It is also much, much more menacing. Joining me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now, to Andrew Black joining us, former special agent in charge of the Tucson office of the FBI, 27 years with the FBI, former felony prosecutor in Chicago, never a lack of business there, currently chief of University of Hawaii Department of Public Safety. Andrew Black, thank you for being with us. What do you make of the FBI now stating they are venturing into Mexico?
I got to tell you, I'm rooting for her to get pissed off at her guest, because I'll be very disappointed if she doesn't. And this just looks like the kind of guy that she could get pissed off with.
They are asking Mexico to share information.
It indicates to me that they've got new leads. So many leads have come in. And as you know, the FBI also put out a stern warning against people fabricating kidnapping notes or ransoming notes, excuse me. These things take time to run down, and it takes energy and resources from the task force trying to locate Nancy Guthrie. So these types of leads just add to the workload of those on the ground trying to find her. And I suspect this venture into Mexico is based on additional leads that they've received, including information in one of the ransom notes.
As of right now, I believe it is around 40,000 tips that law enforcement has received. I'm sure at least half of those are bogus. If you want to see what type of tips are coming in, just go online. Take a look at Twitter and take a look at all of the zany theories. Now, on the other hand, some pretty good ideas are surfacing as well. There is a theory right now still, and I'm sure the FBI and local law enforcement is besieged with theories about botched robbery. So can we just put that to sleep now?
No, we cannot put it to sleep right now.
As in euthanasia, that put to sleep?
No.
This is not a botched robbery.
I'm already pissed. Whatever, dude.
This is not a burglary gone wrong.
Oh, be quiet.
Andrew Black, in a nutshell, why do you believe that Nancy Guthrie was not a random victim?
No, I'm glad you're emphasizing that, because all the indications and the task force working this case, they believe they're working a targeted victim in Nancy, that based on the MO of the individual, he was suited up from head to toe, concealing his identity. He had a backpack. It looked like it was filled.
Well, I mean, how do you how do you rule it out? How can you possibly rule that out? She's saying it's a rando robbery. I didn't say that.
With gear. It does not have any of the earmarkings of a robbery or a crime of opportunity. This looks like it was planned, and we do know there's an abduction. Past that, it's very difficult to say what we have following all these ransom notes, that one was, definitely proved to be a hoax, individuals being prosecuted, and these others that keep rolling in to TMZ and other outlets.
When you say it's not a robbery, obviously the guy's bringing in a ton of stuff. His backpack is stuffed to the gills. With robberies, you take things out, you don't carry them in. And let me go out to Josh Colesrud, veteran criminal defense attorney for.
Yeah, well, maybe he had wet wipes. It was a home invasion, but I don't know the details of it. But yes.
Former felony prosecutor, now founder of Colesrud Law Offices. Josh, I've never seen a burglar or a robber. And the difference is a robber robs from an individual. A burglary is when someone enters a dwelling or business without consent with the intent to commit a felony therein. That felony could be theft. That felony.
Let me see. Robbery gone wrong. No, they don't take victims with them. Well, sometimes they do if they kill them. Sometimes they get rid of the bodies. I mean, that happens. Happens often. What do you think they're bringing in? I mean, it's not like they're bringing a jungle gym in to set up so they could play. Wasn't even that big of a backpack. It was a tiny little backpack. What do you think he had in there? Uranium?
It could be or ag assault. The felony could be a number of things, but typically a burglary is unlawful entry with intent to commit a theft. And when the burglar, and this is statistically overwhelmingly true, when the burglar comes in and sees a person, they're like, and leave. They don't want contact with the victim. They don't want to be identified. They want to come in and steal and leave, or come in and leave. And if they do see a victim, they either hightail it or they kill the victim so they cannot be identified. It's 2 + 2 = 4.
Exactly. And Arizona actually distinguishes a burglary of an occupied structure versus a burglary of an unoccupied structure.
Yeah, we don't know what was missing.
Now, you can look at the FBI statistics about how infrequent, in fact, there has never been a recorded case where there's been a burglary gone wrong, where the burglary suspects end up kidnapping an elderly woman and keeping her alive. It's a unicorn. It just doesn't happen. And we know that she was alive when she left because the blood trail led to the door and then suddenly just stopped. Like they were putting their hand over her mouth. And there's no indication, no signs and symptoms that this was a burglary gone wrong. So we do need to look at motive here. And it's good that we can cross this motive off. Now we have to look at, was this based on money? Was this based on something else?
They're breaking my heart here, man.
And only once we determine motive can we kind of narrow down who the suspects may be.
To Scott Eicher joining us. He is a founding member of the CAST Cellular Analysis Survey Team at the FBI. 22 years, also a former homicide detective with Norfolk Police, now with Precision Cellular Analysis. Scott, you and I have seen so many cases, prosecuted, investigated cases.
That's sort of my theory. That's sort of my theory, is that they knew that there was something in the house that they wanted. It wasn't like they just walked up and were going to rob her. They didn't know who she was. I think they were prepared to do what they did. And I think that during the commission of the crime, things went horribly wrong. Who knows what were in his backpack? Maybe stuff to tie her up or, keep her quiet. And maybe they needed her to open a safe or something like that. That was really what I mean by a robbery gone wrong. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm probably wrong, but hopefully one day we find out.
I don't mean just talk about them. I mean prosecute them. When a burglary goes wrong, that means somebody's home when the burglar goes in and they leave. Why in the world would a burglar or robber decide, I'll just take the victim with me? Yes, she's 84 and she has a hard time walking, but no problem. It's ridiculous. Burglary, robbery gone wrong.
I doubt that they said that, Nance.
What a waste of breath.
They didn't. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that they took her because they planned on it. But that maybe there was some sort of struggle ensued and they didn't want to leave her body for evidence. That's it. That's all.
I totally agree on that. And most burglars are trying to get quickly in and then out. They want to grab what is valuable and then get out.
So why would it take 40-something minutes to kidnap somebody? If that's all they were going to do, kidnapping for ransom, are you telling me Nance and Guthrie, or what's this guy's name? Not Guthrie. That's Nance. I just mixed up I just combined two names there wrong. Nancy and Virgil. I don't know. What's this guy's name?
Out of that house as soon as
42 minutes to kidnap somebody for a ransom. Okay, it's not like you're packing up a baby stroller.
possible. They do make mistakes, and every once in a while go in when there's someone else in the house. But you're right, and I totally agree. It's very random that they would hurt the person in the house. They're more want to get away from the scene as soon as possible because they're gonna call the cops on them and stuff like that.
We also know when you're looking at this timeline, there was a 2 o'clock event, as I have mentioned several times, where her heart monitor spikes, or so we have been told. That's around 2 a.m., which makes me wonder if that's the first time she sees the perp. Then 2:12, software detects the person on a camera, 2:28, but by now the door camera's already been disconnected. Okay, I want to talk.
Once again, I'm not dying on that hill. I'm not going, this is exactly what happened. It's just what my thought was. That's it. I mean, there's nothing more to it.
About DNA. Dave Mack, how many more times can we say it?
Is she going to get mad at somebody?
The DNA on the random glove found about 1.5 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home, thrown to the side of the street, did not get a CODIS hit. That's the Combined DNA Data Bank, the National Data Bank.
Correct.
Right?
It did not. It did not get a CODIS hit. You're correct.
Okay, which means, if you follow that through, the DNA in the home was not connected to that glove, and the DNA in the home did not get a CODIS hit. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's not all of it, but it's correct.
Okay. What do you mean by not all of it?
Well, there was.
Did you see that? Oh, dude, it feels like she's getting ready to eat somebody alive.
That is correct. It's not all of it, but it's correct.
Okay.
Wow.
What do you mean by not all of it?
Well, there was also a partial DNA collected inside of the home. That partial DNA was sent to the Florida lab, just like the DNA found on the glove and the other DNA found in the house. The difference here is that it is a partial DNA profile, and the people in Florida at the lab have yet to.
From what I understand, she Ubered to dinner and then was brought home by family, Tomato, and somebody else.
Develop it out where it could be checked in CODIS. So that partial DNA that they've developed from inside the home has not yet been subjected to a CODIS.
I don't know. I don't think Chris is on this episode, is he? He never tells me. He just goes.
Because it is a partial DNA.
Dave Mack, you're right. And I appreciate the way you said that, because some reporters have stated there was a partial DNA profile and it didn't get a hit at CODIS. The reality is CODIS is the National Data Bank. It's very, very strict on what DNA profiles, what DNA it will even accept to enter into the data bank, unlike the data bank there in Arizona. Joining me right now is a DNA specialist. It is Susanna Ryan out of Redlands, California, lab director, forensic DNA analyst at Pure Gold.
Uh-oh. Is this going to be the one?
Gold Forensics. She is a forensic DNA consultant at Ryan Forensics, 25 years experience in forensic DNA and serology. Susanna, thank you for.
I think what partial means is that DNA they have a certain amount of markers, and to get a full DNA profile, you hit so many different markers, that tells you, male, female. I'm not exactly sure what else, but that it's just it doesn't meet the entire. It doesn't meet the entire profile of full DNA panel. CODIS is only for criminals that have committed crimes before, yes.
Being with us, explain what we are talking about right now, how difficult the high standard there is to get DNA into the data bank, CODIS, as opposed to the Arizona data bank, which I believe is much more likely to yield a hit.
Right. So there definitely are different guidelines, and it's much more stringent, much more difficult to get a profile into the national DNA database. You have to, you might be able to get a partial profile in, but it has to have a certain number of what we call the core CODIS loci. So you have to have results at least 8 of those original.
Told you. And I haven't even watched this. Told you.
Original 13 loci. It
Wait,
can't
a
be too much
certain
of a
number
mixture.
of core CODIS, what?
Yeah, loci or locations. So we used to look at 13. That was our goal for getting a profile into CODIS. That has since been extended to 20 loci or locations. And the reason for that is we have so many profiles in the database.
No, they don't even have to be convicted anymore. It's just that they have to be charged. They have to be charged with the crime, not convicted.
We needed to
And they collect DNA from, and they get a warrant. They are able to keep that into CODIS.
start looking at more locations to make the rarity of the profile even greater, because we don't want to get a false hit or an adventitious match.
Susanna, when you are saying
Yes.
loci and you're talking about locations, you need, once it's 14.
No, it's not necessarily convicted. No.
Now it's 20. I'm in my mind comparing this to hits on a fingerprint.
Takes way longer to do genealogy.
Where you have.
No, you just have to be you just have to be charged.
Let's just say 10 points of in identical nature. You only need a certain number for it to be a match. Is that what you're calling a loci?
Yeah, that's a fairly good comparison. It's basically different areas on the DNA molecule. We are not testing the whole molecule. We're picking certain areas that are known to vary greatly between people. So that way we can differentiate between people by just looking at these particular areas. We don't have to try to test the entire DNA molecule.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to get a layperson's understanding of what you're saying. So you have to have now 20 loci, 20 eccentricities about the DNA to make it different and easily identifiable?
So that's the goal.
She's not explaining this very well.
If you had a single source profile, you had a reference sample, you are required to have all 20 of those areas to put it into CODIS. If you're talking about a forensic sample, the requirements are not as strict. You can have less than that, but
Basically what she's saying is you need a pretty definite overall profile, 20 of those, what I called them markers. She called them something else. To put them into CODIS. The bar is much higher to go into CODIS than it is to go into a state lab. The bar is extremely high for CODIS. That's what she means.
you still have to have a certain number of locations or, this information. And it has to meet what we call a rarity index. It has to be more rare than what the size of the database is. Because if it's not, you could have a false hit. It could match against someone that is in the database, but is not actually your perpetrator. And that's specifically the national database. So you're correct that the Arizona database.
Yeah. So what she's saying is that they don't like to put partials in because it can hit on somebody else that's actually not your perpetrator in CODIS, but You can do a partial one at a state level, which doesn't have as many. And that way, maybe, somebody locally has already had their DNA in there that will match instead of a national database.
That is going to have less stringent requirements because there are less people in the database.
That's just what I said. And I'm not even a friggin' DNA person.
So tell me, what is in the AZ database that is not allowed in the national database?
Well, we have arrestees in the Arizona database. Not all states allow for arrestees to be entered into the database. Now, this would be particular individuals arrested of a very
I didn't just start covering crime the other day. Promise you.
very particular felonies. There'll be legislation defining, who is eligible for upload into the Arizona database. You could have forensic unknowns.
Like who gets in?
So I don't know the specific requirements for the state of Arizona, but it's going to be, it's not going to be someone that's, picked up for some misdemeanor offense. It's going to be particular violent felony offenses that a person who has simply been arrested for this crime and not yet convicted, their profile can go into that Arizona database. Another thing that Arizona has that not very many states have is the ability to do familial searching. And so sometimes when people hear that, they think, oh, we're talking about genetic genealogy, but this is totally different. This is the ability to search the Arizona database for a near match. So we've already searched. We know that we don't have a hit on this DNA profile, but let's look for someone who is closely related, maybe a brother or a father. And Arizona is one of only 12 or 13 states that allow for that sort of searching. So I hope that they do conduct that. That's not something that's automatically done. That's something that has to be requested. So hopefully they will have that conducted because that opens up the database for a whole new category of individuals.
By the way, very, very rarely is DNA used to convict because DNA is very unless there's a very high I think they said it's like 8% of crimes or something like that have DNA that is submitted into like trials or something like that.
American homeowners, the FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft. Your equity, the target. With just a forged signature, your ownership can be transferred out of your name. And without protection in place, you're left with an emotional and financial nightmare. That is why we partner with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. And
it's used in less than 10% of murders.
Protect yourself. Use promo code Nancy at HomeTitleLock.com. Expertise DNA. Another question. We now know the FBI has.
I think I was like a 79 IQ.
Reached his tentacles into Mexico. Is there an international DNA database, Susanna?
Yes, there are.
There is the Interpol database. So that is, I think it's over 80 countries that are part of Interpol, where they will upload qualifying DNA profiles, mostly, unsolved cases like this or other felony cases. And I believe there are over 280,000 profiles in the Interpol database. Mexico does participate in that program.
Wait, how many did you say?
Over 280,000 profiles.
Wow, in the Interpol database, and that includes Mexico.
Yes. It does. Now, I will say that Mexico, in general, they do have a DNA database, but it's not on the same level as our CODIS combined DNA index system database. A lot of what they're focusing on in Mexico is identifying missing persons, or if they have unidentified
whatever mixed DNA was in that house, and they believe that it was from the commission of the crime, they will eventually be able to get a profile. It just takes a long time. And Cece talked about it the other day, but it just takes a long time to kind of reverse engineer these kinds of things. It just takes time.
Remains. That's a lot more of their focus than the criminal investigative side. And it's not all connected at a national level at this point.
Wow. Okay. And very quickly, I want to talk to you about how DNA is obtained at a
She has done some things that I will forever have respect for her for.
scene. For instance, through UV lighting, causing the DNA, well, does it cause the DNA to?
Yes, 23andMe, Ancestry, all those other places, they do not have to work with law enforcement, just the same way that Apple doesn't have to work with law enforcement, and sometimes don't, and they don't turn over phones, or they don't turn over, unlock phones for the police without like a warrant. They would have to have a warrant for Ancestry or 23andMe or whatever to actually force them to do it. And I don't think that they make them get warrants almost every time. They apparently there's a lot of criminals that like to use Ancestry DNA.
Fluoresce, but when you look at DNA left on a scene, it fluoresces. And you need near dark or complete dark, or you could use goggles that are tinted red, yellow, or orange to block out light. How does that work?
Right. So what you're referring to is sometimes we use something called an alternate light source, and that helps us identify things like saliva. Those sort of body fluids will fluoresce. Unfortunately, other types of DNA, especially touch or skin cell DNA, does not fluoresce. I wish it did. I wish there was a way for us to, be able to just see it by some, invention like that. But what we have to do is use our best educated guess as to what would have been contacted. Where did this person have to touch to enter the house, for example? Is there anything moved in the home that it looks like this person contacted? And I would imagine that they are focusing on items like that, especially as you.
Yeah, I forgot that. I kind of forgot that she covered it, but yeah, Joran Vandersloot. I heard that tried to off himself the other day in prison. Like when I say the other day, I mean like 2 weeks ago.
Pointed out with him touching this perpetrator. He's got a flashlight in his mouth that he's moving around, that he's probably touching. So even though he's wearing gloves, that does not mean he's not transferring his DNA into that house.
And saliva is so DNA rich. He touches it multiple times. He touches the holster of the gun multiple times. Then he reaches out to the doorknob. And we were discussing earlier, Susanna, how the home was found with the front door unlocked and all the lights on in the front of the house, which is not.
Joran Vandersloot will never tell. I mean, he's admitted that he was the one that was part of the demise, or he was responsible for the death of Natalie, but he'll never say how or what, why exactly. And you want to talk about an investigation that was just as convoluted, just as more confusing because of the laws in Aruba, and then the Dutch law got involved, and it was arrested, unarrested. You want to talk about flappity flap. Deepak and Satish, his two friends, his dad, the whole thing was nuts.
Nancy Guthrie's routine, he turned on the light switch. He probably turned on the light switch in Nancy's room or touch her doorknob, which would be an excellent conduit for saliva DNA. It just takes a trace amount. So I guess
Sean, thank you, dear Josh and Mods, for us not swearing every minute. I need to swear more, though. That's true. And making the chat nice. Thank you, Sean.
You're saying that with certain DNA, such as saliva, sperm, urine, you would use the alternate light source. But for touch DNA, it does not fluoresce, so you would swab the likely suspects, the doorknob, light switch, furniture, something that's been moved in the home. Do I have it so far?
Yeah. Yes, 100%. Yes.
Speaking of the gun, straight out to Andrew Black, joining us, former special agent in charge of the Tucson FBI.
What? Shit. Why is she being so nice? Frig. I frigged up. I frigged up big time. I frigged up.
Pinky ring. Take a look at this. We've zoomed in on, there you go. Look at that, Andrew Black. That's his right hand on the Tucson FBI office. Let's talk about the gun. Oh, wait, I've got to show you a picture. Hold on. Apparently, our perp wears a pinky ring. Take a look at this. We've zoomed in on, there you go. Look at that.
I don't see anything.
Andrew Black. That's his right hand. I have analyzed and got multiple other people to analyze. Was it his ring finger? But it appears to be pinky.
Does that look like a pinky ring to anybody else? Am I missing something? How do you get a pinky ring from that?
Look at that.
Very stylish.
Look at the shape of that. Hey, move out just a little bit more. Do you guys agree this is the pinky? At first I thought it would be the ring.
I mean, I don't know.
Finger. Move out a little bit more. Move out a little bit more so we can see the full hand.
I can't even tell it's a hand.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think, Andrew?
I can't even tell it's a hand. Oh, bad.
That's a tough one for me. If they're saying it's on the pinky, then it is a pinky ring, and he has some sort of style or flair. Obviously, he doesn't have that same flair in his approach to committing a home invasion as we saw in the video that we're looking at right now. The gun, that appears to be a semi-automatic weapon. As you can see, the handle, there's no hammer.
I can clearly see it. I can't clearly see it. Maybe you can clearly see it. I certainly cannot. And Sammy says to thank you for your super chat. Has anyone seen reporting on the small friend group Nancy watched Good Shepherd New York with every Sunday? I think they've talked about that a little bit. Not a lot though. I truly can't see it. I would love to say, yeah, it's a pinky ring.
It's and it looks like there's a magazine at the end of it. The holster is really
I barely see the gun.
Strange. I
can see it, but I
haven't seen one like that. That appears to be a revolver. And you can see there's a snap going over where the hammer would be on a revolver. So it's a really unusual and unprofessional method for carrying really any type of weapon in front of your groin like this, but placing a semi-automatic weapon, which could slide out quite easily in a revolver holster, is unprofessional to say the least, and awkward.
Could you very slowly go through again what you said for those listening that are not gun aficionados? You started with saying it is a revolver holster. Now, please explain your reasoning.
Okay, there are two basic handguns. There's a revolver, which has a cylinder, and each time the trigger is pulled or squeezed, the cylinder turns, the hammer comes back, and then it hits the back of the casing of the chambered round in the cylinder. A semi-automatic pistol like we see here, the firing mechanism is different. The rounds of ammunition are not in a cylinder, they're in the handle of the gun in what is called a magazine. That's where you load the rounds of ammunition.
I understand that it's under the glove, but I can't even tell it's the pinky though. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess.
And rather than an exposed hammer coming back, typically, very typically, a semi-automatic pistol will not have a visible hammer. There are certain models, but this is not one of them. As you can see, it's flat. And so this is a weapon. You can see there's a black strap that should be over the revolver, if this was a revolver, securing the hammer. Here we have a semi-automatic pistol loosely sticking.
I mean, who uses like just a holster that isn't gun specific? I don't know, man. That's weird to me.
Into this revolver holster, and it's not what it was intended for. Doesn't mean it can't work. It's working here, but it's an awkward way to carry a weapon.
So this is a semi-automatic weapon. Now, what more can you tell about the gun? Many people think it's a Walther. What do you think?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that because of the graininess of the picture. I don't want to commit to saying it's one model over another. And there are various models of Walther, but that's the popular belief. Walther or a similar type, which is a smaller type of handgun, easily concealable. That's what James Bond carries, one version of the gun that he carries. And yeah, definitely semi-automatic.
James Bond is not a real person.
Can't say for sure myself that it is a Walther, but it resembles one. And this helps.
Look, it very well could be a ring. I see what they're pointing out. But what kind of idiot would, you know, first of all, how uncomfortable that would be. But I forgot we're dealing with a mastermind criminal here. I know people think that he's smarter than he is because he hasn't been caught. But I mean, so I guess I understand that. But
and that may be why one of the leads we've heard about is the purchase of Walther weapons at gun stores in the area. So this is a positive lead to follow up on, of course, along with the unusual holster he's using.
Andrew Black, what did you say about James Bond?
James Bond carried a Walther P, similar type of weapon in the movies. And that's the manufacturer, apparently, of this weapon, or what experts are saying. I can't identify it for sure, but that's what I've read from what's being reported on the type of weapon suspected of.
Interest credit 8 FBI can do with this, or law enforcement, to identify the type of gun, because I believe guns are like cars. And I've worked with the car theft division at APD, Atlanta Police Department, and they're brilliant. They
maybe robbery tools. I don't know. Maybe they're stealing somebody's Cadillac converter. I'm not sure. I mean, it's just hard to say. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea.
You look at a car coming a block away and go, oh, yeah, that's a 1995 Toyota Camry. Like, how do you know that? Because they do it all day long. Like, I can look at a police report and say, oh, this is aggravated assault, this is kidnapping, this is blah, 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 blah. That's
Cadillac converter, like cat, not a Cadillac.
That's what you can prove from this one page of a police report. They can look at a car and tell me what the make, model, and year is. There are people that can look at a gun and do pretty much the same.
I know that there's no such thing as something that converts something out of nothing into a Cadillac, which would be a Cadillac converter. I'm sorry, I just said it very flippantly, but I know that it's not a Cadillac converter, like you're not converting something into a Cadillac. A catalytic converter.
Yes, there's experts all around the world that are very good at visually identifying a weapon. Now, as Andrew said, this is grainy, the photo. We don't see the whole weapon itself. So, I mean, I suggest that a lot of people are just making their best estimate of or guess of what this is, but we don't know for sure. Obviously, you know, the gun store visits are helpful.
Catalytic.
And hopefully we can maybe narrow down suspects by going to the gun stores and hopefully find someone that purchased that.
How fast they turn. How fast they turn.
That type of semi-automatic weapon. We've got a lot of things to go on, and it's a lot of work to go to all the gun stores and all the Walmarts because we're looking for who bought or people that bought the type of holster. I agree with Andrew in the aspect that holster is not made for that gun, and that probably will allow that gun to very easily slip out of that holster.
Apparently, it's Ash Wednesday.
Back to Dave Mack joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Now, another missive has been received by Harvey Levin over at TMZ. It's much more threatening. What do we know about the latest ransom note?
Well, Harvey Levin and his team at TMZ say this
good visually identify the whole and that probably will allow that gun to very easily slip out of that holster.
Back to Dave Mack joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Now, another missive has been received by Harvey Levin over at TMZ. It's much more threatening. What do we know about the latest ransom note?
Well, Harvey Levin and his team at TMZ say this particular new ransom note is highly sophisticated, involving a different cryptocurrency than Bitcoin. We know that was the main play earlier, was that they wanted it paid out in Bitcoin, the ransomer did. Now TMZ obtains this new note and saying it's highly sophisticated. I'm not really sure what that means, except that the demand involving cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin is still for about the same amount, around $6 million. The email in demanding
catalytic converter. Catalytic converter.
this dollar amount to a different account number too than had been previously received by TMZ. And there's a side note to all of this, Nancy. The email graphically describes the consequences of not paying up.
I'm sorry I ever brought it up. Next show, this will be absolutely banned from the chat.
Of not following through with this ransom demand. I don't know, again, exactly what it is, but they're saying very specific, graphic consequences. Also, the FBI is stepping up, and they're saying if you decide
they have the baddest catalytic converters, we got the nicest catalytic converters there are. Catalytic converters, so good. Oh, I love my catalytic converter.
you want to try to pull off a fake ransom on the family, you will be going to prison for a long, long time. They're adding this to the mix because they're fed up with all of the sidetracks and chasing rabbits. But again, you mentioned it, another missive sent to TMZ, this one different than had been previously received.
Andrew Black, let's talk about Bitcoin alternatives. You've got, let's see, Ethereum, ETH, you've got Litecoin, LTC, XRP for crossing border settlements.
Wow, what a catalytic converter. Wow.
You've got Binance, BNB, Cardano, so many Bitcoin alternatives. What do you make of the most recent ransom note demanding an alternative to Bitcoin, same amount, $6 million?
You know, I think I don't give a lot of credibility to these ransom demands. They take up a lot of energy on law enforcement, but you have to follow up on them. So, you know, in my opinion, it's another opportunist, another crime of opportunity. Yet law enforcement has to follow up on this because, you know, it's a lead. And if, God forbid, this person does know something about who's holding Nancy or where she is, and you neglect it, you know, you can't go back. So as the leads come in, you prioritize them in the command center. You have a team that does that, and then you follow those leads where they take you.
Back to Josh Colesrue joining us, former federal prosecutor, now criminal defense attorney in this jurisdiction, Arizona. Question to you regarding any ransom note is a crime, but false ransom notes are also a crime. Explain the legal theory.
Which would fall under the category of any ransom note, catalytic converter,
and the penalties behind a false ransom note. We already know Kallela has been charged under 18
catalytic converter,
USC 875. So he's looking at time in the slammer for a fake ransom note.
Yeah, Derek Kallela from San Diego was charged with 2 counts, submitting a fake ransom note to Savannah Guthrie, and he faces up to 20 years in prison for those counts. And I was really happy that the U.S. attorney here, threw the book at him. You know, they needed to set an example because these types of things can really derail an investigation. It takes time and resources away from investigating real leads. And here with this new ransom note, you know, what I want to know is, you know, what indicators are there that they have new information that has not been released to the public? Or are there personal anecdotes that could be provided by Nancy Guthrie herself to show that she's still alive? You know, we just don't have any of that information here. And, you know, I have to agree with my colleague.
Yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a dog-faced lion pony soldier. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran with some bad boys.
That I'm very skeptical at this point in time that this is a legitimate ransom note.
Scott Eicher, weigh in.
This new ransom note, I mean, we've been told that it was very graphic on what's going to happen to Nancy if they don't pay, but why would you have to put that into the ransom note? I mean, Savannah.
One of the funniest things that Biden ever did was when he was at a town hall meeting and some guy was like, he's like, you're not even physically able, you shouldn't even physically be able to, something about his physicality. He's all, listen here, fat. He just called the guy fat. Listen here, fat. The guy was fat.
And the family have already said, we will pay. So that would give, at least to me, another indication that this is another fake ransom.
On to you. With and if you, I hope to see you there. And thank you, friend.
You get mad at anybody.
If you know or think you know.
Not one person. Ridiculous, Nancy. The one time I watched you. I wanted to hear what Megyn Kelly had to say. What we've learned about from one lunatic to the next. Where's the okay, this is what I want to see here. Listen here, fat. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, I do actually. I want to hear what you I want to hear this topic discussed.
Guys, listen to this. As we're discussing the possibility, the sheriff's statement of targeted kidnapping and the possibility that somebody understanding, I mean, it could have just been about Nancy Guthrie, but the odds are it had something to do with the rich daughter. I mean, I think that's probably the smarter bet.
Appreciate that.
Fox News reporting.
I'm just a commentary guy. Like, I just like to talk. You know, that's it. I listen. I react. I say stupid stuff.
This is the headline. Internet user, they don't know who, searched
shocker
for Nancy Guthrie's address and daughter's salary before Today host's mother vanished. This is literally breaking after the discussion we just had. It's crazy. I don't know how you can tell this. Fox News is citing Google Trends. An internet user appears to have searched for Nancy Guthrie's
Who? Which baddie? Maureen? Who's
home address in the weeks prior to her suspected abduction, Google Trends shows. Last week, the FBI released a description of the individual seen. They're talking about the guy, 5'9", 5'10", with the Ozark Trail hiker backpack. Other identifying items. Hold on, read more.
who's the baddie?
Fox News Digital has learned that mysterious Google searches for Nancy's address and Savannah's salary occurred before her disappearance. Google Trends records show there was one search for Guthrie's address in the Catalina foothills between June 21st and June 28th, 2025 by someone in Arizona. They can tell you exactly where the search came from. The address was searched again once on January 11th, 2026. That's one of the dates that the sheriff's office is asking people to check their Ring cameras for. This is getting creepy. The January 11th date also surfaced in a message on the Ring camera app. Yeah, he's this guy's in my head. Let's see. A Pima County Sheriff's Department captain replied to the post asking users to look for the verified post. Okay, The man questioned. Hold on, sorry, I'm reading.
Has anybody seen the movie Lawless with Shia LaBeouf? The guy on the far end here looks exactly like the villain, like identical. So much so that I'm going to have to show you. I mean, it's almost uncanny. Look at this. Crap. They look identical. Okay. Back to this. Sorry, I just had to do it. I guess I didn't have to. I did, though. Son of a bitch.
The offense behavior we talked about this week.
Replied to the post asking users.
My catalytic converter went out.
To look for the verified post. Okay, The man questioned. Hold on, sorry, I'm reading live. Where's the part
It's a
about him
good lead.
searching
Pre-offense
Savannah's?
behavior. We talked about this week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, stand by. My crack producers texted it to me. They can read faster than I can. There were two separate. Which one is it, Debbie? Is it which text? I have three from you here. There were also two separate Google image searches for Nancy's address in Arizona. One, again, sometime between March 1st and 8th, 2025.
Yes, that's him.
Oh, Google image.
Although I think he got beat up the other day.
Searches, guys. Google image searches, in addition to like just typing in the Google search bar. Okay, also two separate Google image searches for Nancy's address in Arizona. One was sometime between March 1st and 8th, 2025. The other was between November 30th and December 1st, 2025, specifically looking for images or a map of the home. In addition to the address, in the days leading up to Nancy's disappearance, quote, Savannah Guthrie's salary was searched from Tucson sometime between December 13th and 20th. For comparison.
Is that so? Her salary was, somebody in Tucson Googled her salary.
CNN anchor Anderson Cooper, who grew up in New York City, generated one search for Anderson Cooper's salary in the New York City area between March 29th and April 5th. Fox News' Sean Hannity also grew up in New York, and Sean Hannity's salary was searched once between May 3rd and 10th, 2025. Whoa. What do you make of this?
Wait a minute. What?
Sometime between December 13th and 20th. For comparison, CNN anchor Anderson Cooper, who grew up in New York City, generated one search for Anderson Cooper's salary in the New York City area between March 29th and April 5th. Fox News' Sean Hannity also grew up in New York, and Sean Hannity's salary was searched once between May 3rd and 10th, 2025.
Yeah, but I've done that before too. I've looked at people's net worth before. There's a website called celebritynetworth.com. I've never done Nancy Guthrie's, and I can't remember the last time I did it, but I'm just saying that I don't. Maybe they're looking to be an anchor. I don't know what. Dude.
Whoa. What do you make
of
this?
Wow. Yeah, it might always be wrong, but.
Yeah, we've been talking about this since the beginning. Victimology, about our victim, all the family members, friends of family members, but then going to the offender himself. What were they doing in the weeks, if not months, beforehand? One of them is obsessive,
I wouldn't tell you if I did.
Internet interest and usage, and who's looking up the parties here involved in this particular case. And of course, that includes starting to buy materials, backpacks, ropes, all these things, the Uncle Mike holster, whatever's in there. But it's no surprise to me at all, as we said earlier, and my partner and I are going to put out on our Cold Red podcast later today, the full profile of this person.
You don't have to look too far. I got you. How much is a car and a house worth? Subtract that, and you have my net worth.
The pre-offense behavior includes this type of activity. And if anyone knows the person, and their computer has those images locked in there somehow, or a search history, that's a person we're going to talk to, and the tip line should be called.
Yes. What do you think, Will?
Well, I think this is an absolute treasure trove. I mean, as Fitz said, this is the advanced reconnaissance. This is the research that's done in advance on a potential prospect. So I think there's going to be some reverse engineering against the IP address, which Google no doubt will be able to attribute to those searches, to actually see any other history, any other IP-associated data searches that have been undertaken throughout this period from 20.
I have a coupon. I have a coupon for Wingstop. It's a 2-for-1. What does that do? Does that bump me up a little?
25, right up until obviously the date of the incident itself. So yeah, this is a very useful bit of a lead that can be now hunted through, and with Google's assistance, that they could be obviously warranted or subpoenaed to assist them on this. And ultimately, this is the sort of thing that Google would love to, no doubt, to be able to assist them with.
I mean, so you've got, I'm just trying to go through the timeline here. So you've got November 30, between November 30th and December 1st, someone searched for an image of Nancy's home. On January 11th, someone searched for Nancy's address and had also searched on June 21st, between the 21st and the 28th. So in the summer of 25, they searched for Nancy's address. Then again, 2 weeks before the kidnapping. On March 1st and 8th, between March 1st and 8th, they searched for images of Nancy's home. And then again on November 30th and December 1st. Again, now we're coming up to within 2 months of the kidnapping.
Yeah.
And then on December 13th, between December 13th and December 20th.
Guys, Rhett wants everybody to know that it was just a joke. And he wants to make sure everyone knows that it was a joke. He doesn't actually live with his parents. Right.
Somebody searched for Savannah's salary. Now, I will say this, as a news person, they often search for your salary.
Right.
Like, I've seen that because there's all sorts of speculation online about what my salary is, what all news persons' salaries are. By the way, they're like incredibly off, like so off every time. They never get it. There's a whole video on YouTube about my lavish lifestyle. I'm like, oh, let's see. What do they have? Like, literally nothing in there is mine. Not the house, not the car, like nothing. I'm like, okay. It's all fake, but
it's good they're getting them wrong. It's good they're getting it wrong.
Yes.
It's very good. Yeah. But it's so weird. Like, things are made up. So, but I'm just saying it may not be as exciting as we think that they search for Savannah's salary, because they do that when you're a public figure. But it's just it's very eerie to see they searched for that.
I don't know if I don't think Megyn Kelly's like a true crime person, but I think everybody's kind of covering this case.
And within 2 weeks of that, they were searching for images of Nancy's home. And within 3 weeks of that, they were searching for Nancy's address. Now, we don't know if it's the same person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask
you. But if these searches come back to the same person, Maureen.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think if they can actually join the dots together, and if it can be.
I agree that if there was somebody that Googled Savannah Guthrie's salary, and then the mom's address, if it's the same person, then that's maybe something that you should probably look into, but
attributed to the same IP address for those searches, albeit in those different periods. That falls into what we'd call a traditional planning cycle or attack planning cycle. So, there will be the selection of the potential prospect to kidnap, if it was
whatever, Brett.
Indeed a kidnap. They would then revisit, they'd look at that site again, see if there was any changes, see if there was any alterations. Certainly but I wouldn't have discounted, which is why all these Ring and Nest cameras of neighbors is going to be so essential to see if there's any repeated behavior. I mean, in the small area that she lives in, Nancy lives in, there will be a very easy pattern of the vehicles associated to the residents in that area. Any other vehicles other than delivery vehicles, if they're privately owned, will be very easy to identify, whether they be, vans, trucks, whatever it might be.
Especially at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Why would they be, and I don't know, in what I just quickly read, they didn't source this to law enforcement. So it's possible they say Fox News has learned. Okay, so it is sourced to law enforcement, because there's nobody else who's calling Fox to tell them that they did this. They learned this.
It's probably part of that public-private
law enforcement. Why would law enforcement want us to know this?
Well, first of all, it's a big lead. Secondly, they're not driving by this house in June and on these other dates well in advance of the abduction with masks on or at nighttime. So, I mean, I just think it would be fantastic if one of these clowns got a ticket on one of the speeding cameras, because the speeding cameras don't record, but they do take your photo when you're driving through and that light goes off. And boy, wouldn't that be a bonanza of a tip.
Or a Tesla camera, or the neighbor. Maybe that's what they're doing with the neighbor's Ring cam. Maybe it's not even about they already checked that one perhaps for the night she disappeared. Maybe they're going back to see whether anybody did a drive-by.
The daylight.
I mean, they can't even get the IP address of people sending fake stuff to TMZ, or they haven't yet.
On any of these dates.
Exactly.
Daylight stuff.
Which they still should have done weeks ago, but that's okay.
Yeah.
International disputes, inflation, rising national.
What's up, Magic Star? How are you? Hold on there. There was... Hold on here. Friggin'. Oh, is this the former Pima County Sheriff Deputy? Yeah, I'll play this. I want to hear this.
Talks. I'm Brian Webb of Trenton Hooker, and we're joined by a special guest, former Pima County.
That's a rough last name to grow up with. Probably not so bad now, but Trent Hooker.
Sheriff Richard Carmona also has an impressive resume as U.S. Surgeon General and a SWAT team member before that. He's done it all. Now teaching at U of A, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Mr. Carmona, we appreciate your time today.
Thanks. Happy to be with you guys. Thank you. Well, sir, you wrote an op-ed in the Arizona Daily Star about we're in week 3 of this investigation and the search for Nancy Guthrie, but you made some key points I thought were important to flesh out about the handling of this investigation, and more importantly, the messaging that's been put out there with where we're at. But can you tell me on day 18, what is your take right now on if we're going to find Nancy Guthrie alive or we're going to find who took her?
First, thanks for the opportunity to be with you. And please, before my remarks, if I just might comment that first and foremost, for all of my colleagues in law enforcement, this is about finding Savannah's mom. Savannah is like one of our children. She comes from the family. She was a reporter here for many years before going to New York. And I just want to make sure that the public understands that this is a mom that's missing and is of the utmost importance, which is why many of my colleagues in law enforcement here had some concerns with the way the sheriff was managing this, and especially his communication, or very poor communication, to the public, making statements that were, well, quite frankly, just awful and incorrect, and taking actions that were incorrect as well. So a number of us decided we needed to say something about it, because we did not want it to reflect on our community and the sheriff's department, which has been an extraordinary law enforcement agency that I worked with for 3 decades and had a national reputation. But this aberrancy hopefully will go away, and we'll get back to doing what we're supposed to do. But we're all, I speak for most law enforcement in Southern Arizona, that we are very unhappy with the way this sheriff has conducted himself during this very important investigation.
Mr. Carmona, tell me what stood out to you first as a misstep by the current sheriff's office.
Well, I think the organization at the site with the incident, what's called incident command, and making sure that everybody understood exactly what they needed to do, and integrating with the FBI, who are a partner agency. Unfortunately, the sheriff has alienated them before in statements that he's made, including in the past of accusing them to be inept investigators. And at one point, when he was upset with them doing an investigation on other officers, he basically fired the FBI agents on the task force. So he's embarrassed us before in how he interacts with our fellow law enforcement agencies. And again, looking at this picture of Savannah, who we love dearly. I've known her since she was a young girl coming out of college and was a cub reporter and used to report on some of my work with the SWAT team and with the trauma center. So our heart goes out. We're working hard. I think at this point, it would only be conjecture. We are all concerned, and as a former detective and an officer, that the longer it goes,
Bro, like Sheriff Thanos is just catching shit from everybody.
especially for an 84-year-old lady who has medical problem on medication, that the likelihood of her returning safely is less and less. Nevertheless, I know my colleagues are 100% committed to overturning every stone possible to find out where she is and hopefully, with the grace of God, return her to her family.
Mr. Carmona, too, I want to ask, as not only being an investigator in these cases, especially high-profile ones, but then also as a sheriff, can you talk about behind the scenes, especially your colleagues there at Pima County Sheriff's Department? What are they feeling where they're looking at all this armchair speculation, the media circus on trying to determine where she's at? But obviously, they have information that they can't share with the public because they need to build a case.
Absolutely. And so it would be unrealistic to think that every day they're going to share all of their investigative leads into what's going on for obvious reasons. We don't want to tip off a suspect who may be fleeing if there's somebody in the area. However,
if you have not, please hit that like button. Very much would appreciate it. Thank you.
in asking what my colleagues feel, all of us have been very embarrassed with the way law enforcement has been represented here. And we all feel this is not the level of law enforcement that we're used to as far as the public representation.
We'll get 400.
The comments he made, for instance, when questioned by reporters about things that he had said and done in the past, he said, well, I'm not used to being held accountable by my words. That was just absolutely outrageous. Most of us want the media to hold us accountable by words and actions. So to say to the contrary was an embarrassment. So we have two things going on here. A community that's joined very strongly to do everything we can to find Savannah's mom. On the other hand, we're dealing with a leader in the Sheriff's Department currently who is below the standards that we have set in his communications, in his leadership ability, in his integrating the resources to solve this case. All of those things are problematic and cause concern for all of us in leadership positions in law enforcement in Southern Arizona.
I want to get your take, too, on the question about the decision by Sheriff Nanos to send that DNA evidence to a separate lab in Florida.
Well, Patty, it absolutely is easy to throw stones, but it does look a little more odd when there's a group of ex-detectives, not just one, not just two, hurling them like they're friggin' Randy Johnson every single day.
When the FBI has said that they offered their lab in Quantico, how did that strike you? And more importantly, how does that reflect on the cooperation between the two agencies?
Well, it's how it struck me, as well as many of my colleagues who I've spoken to. In fact, this afternoon, earlier at lunch, having lunch with the former FBI agent in charge down here, it was just incredible. I mean, why wouldn't you partner with one of the best investigative agencies in the world, which has the best forensic lab in the world, and send it to a private lab? And when he was questioned, he said, it's because it was cheaper. The FBI doesn't charge you. When you're doing this investigation with them, they take the cost on for them. And even if it was a cost, for sure, you want to work with the FBI and the forensics lab because they're the best in the world. Now, this is nothing against the private lab. I don't even know who they are. But if you have a joint investigation with FBI agents here, I believe about 70 agents pulled from around the country and locally to assist in this investigation, an incident command system, and we're offered the best crime lab in the country, why wouldn't you say yes and thank you? So it was perplexing to all of us who have been in law enforcement down here.
Richard, do you think these missteps, whether it's messaging or actions, have put Nancy Guthrie's life in even further danger than it already is?
I don't think so, and here's why. And all of us who have been in law enforcement down here.
Richard, do you think these missteps, whether it's messaging or actions, have put Nancy Guthrie's life in even further danger?
Well, that's a dumb question, because how much more danger could her life be in if somebody took her out of her home? I don't know what this guy's name is. Boomer McSiason?
Then it already is?
I don't think so, and here's why.
Dumb question. That really is a dumb question. That's an agitating question.
All of the officers I've spoken to, the detectives, the FBI agents down here, they are 100% committed. And really what's happening now, the comments that the sheriff is making really are just a distraction that they're deflecting and staying focused on the mission. The mission is to put all resources possible. And I speak for my colleagues in the Pima County Sheriff's Department as well. All those.
Do I think it's been botched? To be honest with you, to say that it is botched like right now, I don't know if I could say that, but I think I know this is probably a shitty thing I guess only time will tell. It sounds like there's been some missteps, but botched, I don't know. I don't know if I could say botched yet. Really, it's possible.
Detectives that are working tirelessly, the deputies that are out there doing traffic control, everyone is focused on this.
It's just really hard to find people.
Mission. We are just disappointed at the level or lack of leadership at the senior position and some of the remarks that are quite embarrassing that have been made. And the other one is, prematurely releasing the crime scene. You cannot release a crime scene and then say, oops, I'll reconstitute it. Once it's violated, the evidence is no longer being able to.
Yeah, Josh from Jersey. If a crime isn't solved in a day, people say it's botched, but it hasn't been a day. They have video of a guy on our front porch, and I get what you're saying, and I think that unfortunately, because time is of the essence, and it was specifically at first, I think that it's possible that there were missteps, but I don't think I've ever heard of a perfect investigation ever. I just don't think when there's so many people involved, I don't think that's possible. So without a resolution, it would be hard to say that it was botched,
Be submitted because it will be.
I don't think it's botched until it's
be rejected by a judge because it's tainted. You don't know if anybody contaminated the crime scene. And by his own words, he said he made that decision. So something that's absolutely astonishing.
As sarcastic as I am, and I give people shit and stuff like that, but I think that these guys do an incredible job at working crime scenes, and I'm sure that there's been mistakes made, and I actually give a lot of grace to law enforcement because they're doing an incredibly hard job. They do an incredibly hard job, and just because the public, the spearhead, or the head of the snake or whatever is getting criticism, that doesn't mean that there is very talented investigators working still diligently and hard. I guarantee you that there are people that are working this case who are just so frustrated, So I give a lot of grace to law enforcement, honestly. Maybe the sheriff isn't everybody's cup of tea. He basically saying that he's not really working the case, that his investigators are working the case, if you listen. So we'll see.
Punishing in a case like this, or any case, to be able to, in fact.
Josh from Jersey says, The media is hungry for info to feed their coverage, and that's what's fueling the backlash against Nanos. Josh from Jersey, is your name Nanos from Tucson? I'm just kidding. I agree with you.
In investigations like this, often the criticism we get as detectives was, well, you've got that crime scene open so long, can't you release it? And what you answer is, when I'm done and I'm certain I've identified all potential evidence in this area, I will release it, but not until then, because we need to preserve the integrity of the investigation. And your network and others showed shortly thereafter a pizza delivery man walking across the whole area, you know?
Yes.
And we were all astonished when we saw that on TV.
Well,
That
and
wouldn't
even
happen.
yesterday, we were seeing landscapers go out to take care of certain things.
Yeah.
The day before, it was a pool guy going.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, none of those, again,
But I think that the question that this guy just asked to Larry David was a loaded question. And also, like, it's one of those loaded questions. Like, if you were to ask somebody, have you stopped beating your wife? Well, how do you answer that question?
and if it's a working crime scene, nobody comes in. In fact, the way we establish that, there are officers on the perimeter, and anybody that goes in or out of the crime scene, there's a log. What time you went in, what time you went out. You can't take anything out. If there's evidence you're taking out, it has to be what we call bagged and tagged. There's a number for it, and it's recorded. So when you take the crime scene away, you have no control over that environment anymore. And I don't know that it was contaminated, but I'm saying when the risk of contamination is great and confounding an investigation, which is why all of my colleagues had the same conclusion down here that, my gosh, what was the benefit of releasing that crime scene when we still had an
I just truly do. I promise. I truly think that there are a lot of people working really hard on this case, and people want a pound of flesh. And if they see kind of a crack in the foundation, I mean, they try to break it all the way through. And you know, I don't know the guy. I don't know Sheriff Nanos. I don't hate him, but he seems a little vindictive. But I've been attacked many times too, and it pisses me off sometimes too. And so I get it.
investigation going on.
Richard, too, we have about a couple minutes left, but
Yes.
I want to ask you now, obviously, like you said, the push and the feeling have to find Nancy, have to
Yes.
find the people that are doing this. Respecting that,
Brett, it looks like a funeral home.
can you talk about what's going to happen in the aftermath of this as far as the Tucson community? We've had the media circus there. We've had the spotlight there. We've had all this pressure put on the department. How do you feel like what's going to be left in the aftermath once we move on?
Well, you know, if I were still there and some of my colleagues in leadership, there would be an after action report. And that's the first thing. And to be asked the question, what did we do correct? What could we do better next time? I have no idea if that will be done this time because the person in command makes that decision. So I think that the focus has to be, where were the missteps? Why did this happen? Who do we hold accountable for these missteps? Because it embarrassed all of us, and not only locally.
Embarrassed. It's whatever.
This is, as you know, has gone nationally and then globally. I've had reporters calling me from all over the country. And so it's something that we are all embarrassed about that was 100% preventable if we had the appropriate leadership overseeing
That can't be a house. Well, look at the hard hat in the background.
this investigation and ensuring the integrity of the investigation. So all of those questions have to be answered in an after action report. But again, I want to emphasize many of those officers that are there, both federal and local, I know personally, and they are working their butts off to do everything they can. Some of them are in overtime, some of them are coming on days off, and they are some of the best investigators in the world, as far as I'm concerned. But yet, where our weakest challenge is in that leadership at the highest level, and having a sheriff who continues to embarrass.
I guess he's getting ready to do some work. Okay. Well, that was uneventful. Let me shiz. chilling new theory. Oh yeah. We'll close it out with this. Hold on. TMZ and their bullshit. Excuse my language. And if you have enjoyed, it was the biggest office I've ever seen in my life. Wow, what an office, a big office. Oh, it's almost as big as the Oval. I call it the Oval. It saves time. Okay. So do me one big favor. Hit the like button, share it out, tell a friend. We're going to listen to TMZ here.
And TMZ executive producer Charles.
You don't have to tell a friend. I just said that. It's really not. You can do whatever you want.
Laudabodiere.
Huge. Wow, it's huge.
For more now on that newest ransom note that just came in today. Charles, what time did this email come in? And this one seems different from the ones you've received before.
Yeah, this one is different for a couple of reasons, which we'll get into. But it came in early this morning. I think it was about 1 a.m. On the West Coast. And
yeah, well, you just got to. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, so ridiculous. I go, wow, fake news.
It is different in that the crypto account that is attached is not the same as the one from the.
Not a fan of Harvey. Shot me with a rubber bullet once. We were at Mar-a-Lago. I ordered the steak extra raw. I put ketchup on it. He said, "Wow, Harvey, look at you, great shape." He pulled out a little rubber pistol and he shot me in my ass.
Original alleged ransom note that we got on Tuesday after Nancy's abduction. So can't tell if it's the same person behind this or if this is an all new person or if it's just a hoax. But
I said, wow, what a shot. Nobody's ever been shot that good. Nobody's ever been shot in the ass that good with a rubber bullet. Never.
The demand is slightly different. The money is about the same. It's still roughly $6 million, but not in Bitcoin, in a different cryptocurrency. And then it is this very elaborate demand that involves the media, directly involves the media. And in fact, it sort of
I agree.
Puts the media reporting on this case as a trigger into their payment. It is a very bizarre and complex caper that they've sort of created here. And, you know, of course, we've shared this with the FBI. I don't know. When I looked at it, I thought this is too detailed. And for a lot of things, I'll be honest, I had to look up to learn about cryptocurrency to even understand what it was they were requesting. But we passed it on to the FBI, and I don't know if they will look at it and think the detail means that it's real, or if the detail means that it's just something that someone's cooked up in their brain. But it is
right, and we should remind our audience and everybody out there that if you're doing this, sending a note like this, and it's not real, it's still a very serious crime, which the FBI has said it will prosecute very aggressively, as well as the sheriff.
It's a Cadillac caper. Wow, it's a Cadillac caper. Cadillac caper.
Sheriff's
caper, like a Peloton caper. Wow, I don't want a Peloton caper.
Department. What do you mean by this elaborate demand around media reporting? I'm not sure I understand that.
It basically, it's without revealing too much. And again, we're walking this fine line where, of course, we are reporting this, but we also don't want to do anything that would impede or harm the investigation. But they're paying attention. It's very clear that they are paying attention to the media. And I don't mean just TMZ, but all of the media reporting on this, and that they have now tied that reporting into this demand, or how things would be triggered if things went the way they wanted them to. And I don't know that there's any reason why the FBI would say, okay, we're going to play ball with you, other than if they really feel like this person has some information. So
and just very quickly, Charles, no proof of life, no proof that they have her.
That's what's such BS about these ransom notes, is that there has never been any proof of life that we know of. and no proof that they have her that we know of, or I think it would have been paid. Yeah, the black guy's Harvey's son.
No proof of life, no proof that they have her, and that's been the holding point here for the family, for the FBI, is that that's something they wanted. This person, if it is the same person,
they kind of do look alike a little bit, to be honest with you.
Still not giving in. If it's a new person,
We shall
still
see.
not offering that. Yeah.
And we should note that Harvey Levin, your co-executive producer, said today, this is it. We're not going to be broadcasting any more of these emails that we get.
What we were talking about there,
Listen,
this person, if it is
kind of calls him, I mean, she was mistaken, but just so everybody knows, Brett, by the way, Brett here says, I'm not going to lie, which, I mean, I don't think this is breaking news, but we'll just say it is. Dun, da, 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 breaking news. Brett says, I'm not going to lie. I just get super high and lay down and watch this YouTube channel and say dumb stuff. Thank you for not banning me. The relationship is still young, but thank you for being here.
Is the same person.
You're a valued member of the, I don't know, whatever this is.
Still not giving in. If it's a new person,
We shall
still
see.
not offering that. Yeah.
And we should note that Harvey Levin, your co-executive producer, said today, this is it. We're not going to be broadcasting any more of these emails that we get.
What we were talking about there, Elizabeth, real quick. I know
We're not talking about these notes. We're talking about other notes.
we got to go, but
we're going to keep doing these notes. Yeah. Lab rats. Being lab rats and a part of the chat rats. That's what you guys are. You chat rats.
the demand notes that we were getting,
really
that
good.
person, and that's not this. This is a different person altogether. It's a different address. So it's not that
You're
person.
talking about the 50,000 Bitcoin demands.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, Charles, thank you so much
All right.
for
I know it's a
joining
lot.
us. I know it is a lot.
It's really not. It's really not that much. Nice try though, but to be honest with you, I'm glad that it's just pot, not lithium. That's what that's what I assumed it was, Brett. That it was lithium. Wow, that's close. You're a valued member of whatever this is. Chat rats. That's what they are, chat rats. All right, guys. Good to be here. It's been interesting. It's been fun interacting with you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I tried to be less snarky and make fun of people less. I probably did it even more tonight. But, you know, like Popeye says, I am what I am. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lab After
Dubs in the chat. Dubs in the chat. Also, you guys can follow me on Instagram or X. Thank you, mods. Thank you, Holly. Thank you to everybody who donated. I appreciate it very much. Thank you to everybody who just watched, liked. Hey, please leave a comment after the video.
Lab After Dark. It's always
Wait, what? The music's messed up? Oh my god. Hold on. Is it really messed up? It's bullshit. Hold on. No dubs in the chat for that. Let's just let's do something else. God, this sucks. What the hell is this? Wow. I was trying to play the drums, but this sucks too, actually. Why is it? It doesn't work. All right, tell me how it sounds now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Is it still bad?
Lab After Dark is starting shortly.
Is it still bad? What about now? Is it better now? Or is it worse now?
Lab After Dark is starting soon.
Now it's bad. Oh my god. It's Macho's fault. No, I don't have a good outro. Hold on. Let's see. Nope, that sucks. Let's just do we're gonna have to just do some rock. Sounds like shit.